Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as what if Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
Or queen-size bed. This indicated that he was not in a place like a hospital or a clinic. The way that the room was laid out with the chest of drawers and a bedside table indicated to Naruto that it was more than likely he was in someone's private residence. This is obviously someone's house or apartment. When the door opened and someone walked inside, Naruto instantly recognized who it was. Jiraiya-sama. Naruto stated and did as best as he could, given the situation that he was in. Naruto did his best to bow his head in recognition of such a powerful ninja. Unlike many first introductions that people had with Jiraiya, this one with his godson was a little more serious than what he would have liked. Unfortunately, due to the fact that Naruto had summoned Manda, there was no hope in hell that he was going to leave anything to chance. He wanted to find out all he could with Naruto, and find out how deep his connection with Orochimaru was. Naruto Uzumaki, I must congratulate you on an outstanding performance in your fight against Gaara. That single fight was one that once the invasion started was originally intended for a veteran Anbu captain to fight. For a mere genin to be able to not only fight but also subdue a Jinchuriki with the use of his demon's powers is truly remarkable. You allowed many of our shinobi to focus on other fights which significantly reduced our death count. You should be very proud of yourself. I know damn sure that your mother and your father are unbelievably proud of you. Naruto didn't know what to say. The fight with the red-haired shinobi from Suna was the first fight that Naruto had had where he had to step up his game to the highest stage. There had been a lot of shinobi throughout history that when the clutch moment came, they could not deliver what was needed. This was not even mentioning the fact that Naruto had not even gotten such praise for a job well done. Sure, when he did things right for Team 7, he got praise from his sensei, but since he knew the man's personality, the praise was somewhat muted. That and the fact that Naruto did not know that Kakashi was almost as revered on the battlefield as Jiraiya was because Kakashi spent all of his glory days in the Anbu where the missions were classified. Had Naruto known the personality of Jiraiya beforehand, the way he acted, the praise might have been a bit different. Unfortunately, Naruto, there are more pressing things that we have to discuss. That is the manner in which you fought Gaara. Naruto could feel his heart rate quicken and he clenched his fists. He knew what was going to come. Of course it comes to this. It was going to be more of the same thing that came with being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. He was in for more judgmental people throwing their opinions in his face whether they were warranted or not. The genin from Konoha assumed that the work that he did in defeating Gaara would be offsetted by the fact that he summoned Manda, who was heavily associated with Orochimaru. Seeing the darkening facial expressions coming over the face of Naruto, Jiraiya wasn't entirely sure what Naruto was thinking to make them come up. He had a fair idea though. Naruto, I am sure you know that I am more concerned about you signing the snake contract because of my former teammate. I just want to know how it was that you signed it. The great thing about being one of, if not the best spy in the entire world, was that it allowed you to be able to read whether or not people were lying. Naruto was moderately surprised and it showed on his facial expression. He had initially thought that he was going to be immediately questioned on what was happening with Orochimaru. Instead, Jiraiya-sama was asking questions about how he signed the snake summoning contract. What Naruto did not know was that Jiraiya too knew that there were multiple ways of gaining a contact to a summoning clan. Heck, he himself was one of the people who had the more unique ways of going about it. He did the summoning jutsu without any hand seals, without any contract, and landed in the Toad Realm. From there on it was history. I wasn't feeling my best as I had a mission that I would rather forget, and it made me realize that being a ninja wasn't as great as I had envisioned it to be. Waking up, I found a snake lying on my lap, and that is how my first contact with the Hibi clan came about. Naruto was purposefully not revealing any personal information Jiraiya could tell. Also, from the way that his chakra was feeling at the moment through his sensory jutsu, Jiraiya could tell that his godson was not lying. Thanks to the extensive work whilst being in sage mode, Jiraiya was a great sensor even if he was nowhere near as good as someone like say Noichi Yamanaka. There was no chance to get too excited in that Orochimaru had not yet approached his godson. There was a chance that Orochimaru had sent the snake to get Naruto's trust. Jiraiya's musings were cut short when Naruto continued on speaking from where he left off. The snake then said that I had a lot of qualities that embody what they represent, like how I am ambitious in becoming the Hokage of Konoha, for example. Jiraiya could certainly not deny that trying to become the Konohagakure was not ambitious. They said that the main reason that they wanted me to join their group was so that they can get rid of the image that has been cast on them because of Orochimaru. The people of Konoha hate him almost as much as the Snake Clan want him gone. With all of the deeds that he has been doing, he has been painting the clan in a bad light, and they want him gotten rid of. Sure, some people might not think of them as nice people, but they are certainly not evil like Orochimaru is. Jiraiya could hear the muted passion coming from Naruto, and knew that what he was saying was true in his eyes. His chakra signature was confirming that. A smile appeared on the face of Jiraiya as he was confident that Naruto had not been approached by Orochimaru but instead by Manda. The silver-haired man didn't know what he would do if his former teammate corrupted his godson. One thing that Jiraiya was concerned about was that Naruto had said that the Snake Clan was essentially preparing Naruto for a fight with Orochimaru. Jiraiya had seen the potential that Naruto had in him from the fight with Gaara, but Naruto was going to have to rapidly improve if he wanted to fight against Orochimaru. The very truth was that Naruto could have been lying about Orochimaru not contacting him. Jiraiya did not think that it was possible given his own skill in reading people, but it was definitely a possibility. What this meant was that Jiraiya was going to act as if he fully trusted Naruto whilst still monitoring the boy closely. Naruto, thanks, there are many people in Konoha who know what Orochimaru is capable of, me being one of them. It is very good that you are not in connection with him. I was just making sure that you weren't his apprentice. That would be very bad for Konoha. The unspoken threat was left hanging. Now, you might not know it yet, but because of all of the damage that you took when you used the Kyuubi's chakra, you have been unconscious for quite a long period of time. You have managed to be unconscious for 3 days in fact. The eyes of Naruto went wide as soon as he heard this because as far as he knew, the Kyuubi's chakra only healed him, he didn't know that it also hurt him. Seeing the expression on the face of Naruto, Jiraiya's theories in that the Snake Clan had not had a Jinchuriki as a summoner in at least a very long time became true. What this also meant that Jiraiya was going to have to be the person to deliver the bad news of the death of the Sandaime Hokage. It was still a sore subject for him to deal with by himself, and Jiraiya had no idea how Naruto was going to do with finding out that bit of information. Naruto, just in case you were lying about not admitting that you were not connected to Orochimaru, I had to put some seals on you to restrict your movement. So now that I am confident that you were approached by Manda and not my former teammate, I will release those seals. As Jiraiya said this, he put both of his hands into the bird seal and channeled chakra to complete the jutsu. The moment that happened, Naruto instantly felt as if a weight was taken off of him. The blonde-haired boy could now freely move his body. Well, as free as he could, considering the injuries that he still had. Naruto believed that he would now be able to walk around with crutches or some other way of helping him walk. Despite being previously immobile, Naruto knew that Jiraiya was doing the right thing for Konoha. If he was in the Sanin's position, Naruto knew that he would have done exactly the same thing to ensure that Konoha was safe. Now Naruto, I have heard you were pretty close with the Sandaime, so this might be hard for you to take, but there was a fight between him and Orochimaru. Hearing this, the blonde-haired boy certainly did not like where this conversation was going one bit. He knew that not everything could go his way in terms of the war, but he hoped that he wouldn't have to lose someone close to him. He had no idea what he would do if what he thought that Jiraiya was going to say was true. Unfortunately, Naruto predicted right, as there was no good information to come from the mouth of the silver-haired man. Naruto, I am not sure what the easiest way to say it is, but Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, died whilst fighting Orochimaru. The somber tone in which he said it was enough to make Naruto realize that this wasn't some cruel practical joke. Naruto knew that the bitter truth and that his pseudo-grandfather, one of the people who looked at him as someone other than the Kyuubi no Kitsune, was dead. No! No! That can't be true! He is the Hokage, the strongest ninja in the village. There is no way that he could have died. Naruto was definitely in denial. Had he been thinking things through, the genin would have remembered just how strong Orochimaru was. Anyone with that skill level as well as such a good shinobi brain meant that anything was possible. Looking to Jiraiya to find someone who might be able to deny what had just been heard, Naruto knew that his grandfather in all but blood was now not among the land of the living. It was slow, but the tears eventually started coming. Due to the better emotional control that Naruto now had compared to say 6 months ago, Naruto managed to stop himself. In the end, Naruto had very little amount tears coming out of his eyes before they eventually dried up. Naruto had learned from an early age that crying would get you nowhere in life. It was better to get up from the ground and push on to better things rather than just focus on the misery. Jiraiya, able to see the things that Naruto was going through, made an educated guess in that the blonde-haired boy was repressing his emotions. As a LUL appeared, Jiraiya left so that Naruto could process his emotions around the Sandaime Hokage passing away. As much as the man was there for him when no one else was, the fact that he lied to Naruto regarding the Kyuubi for so long, and why everyone didn't like him, filled Naruto with a myriad of emotions. When Jiraiya came back, he brought food and the two of them sat down, with Jiraiya asking what sort of shinobi Naruto thought he was and what he wanted to be. At the moment I think that I am Chunin rank of a shinobi and my strengths are my kenjutsu and my ninjutsu. My main weakness is genjutsu. Jiraiya nodded, from the reports that Naruto was honest with his assessment of his shinobi skills. Many of genin were overconfident and bragged about their skills. In terms of what kind of shinobi I want to be in the future, I want to be a shinobi who is good without any weaknesses. I think that to probably make the most of my circumstances, which means that I will have to be a ninjutsu specialist. Jiraiya knew what he was referring to when he said circumstances. He was referring to him being a Jinchuriki. It was good to see his godson making the most of what was given to him by his father. Well, you are going to have time to work on that because I am willing to teach you something that will greatly help you as a shinobi. Still reeling from the knowledge that Naruto was never going to sign the Toad contract and the guilt that came with that, he knew that he couldn't teach Naruto that. Nor the Rasengan. The blonde did not need another close-quarter combat jutsu. He already had his blade and wind release. That was why Jiraiya had something else in mind for Naruto to learn. Judging by the way that Naruto fought from what he saw in the Chunin exams, Jiraiya had the perfect idea for Naruto to learn. Unfortunately, Naruto was a bit pessimistic as he wasn't in the best shape. But what can I do when I can't even walk? That is a very valid question, midget, but it does not matter. The grandiose tone that came from Jiraiya was one that made the eye of Naruto twitch. If there was one thing that Naruto hated being teased about from his childhood, it was the fact that he wasn't tallest of people for his age. Sure, the change in diet a few months ago greatly helped, but results in growing taller would not be seen until his next proper growth spurt hit. Naruto was starting to see that legendary shinobi also had personalities too. Little did Naruto know just how much of a distinct personality that Jiraiya truly had. In the end though, Naruto realized that he was going to get some personalized training from the same man that had trained the Yondaime Hokage. Who was he to say no to that? What he learned from Jiraiya in this short time he could take back to both Manda and Kakashi, and then he could improve from there. Taking his time, Naruto made his way over to where Naruto was sitting. Naruto sat down next to Jiraiya. The reason why it took him a while was because Jiraiya had told Naruto that they were going outside. What Naruto and Jiraiya didn't know was just how lucky they were at that very point in time. You see, Itachi and Kisame were running around looking for Naruto to see if they could get a quick and easy Bijou capture after the events that had just taken place recently. They had not managed to find Naruto, which was severely pissing off the former Kirigakure ninja as he wanted some prey for Samehada to feast on. Fortunately for Naruto, he was staying at one of the safest locations in the whole of Fire Nation. Thanks to all of the money that he had due to the Ika Ika franchise, Jiraiya had enough money to have multiple houses around the elemental nations. The houses that Jiraiya owned outside of Konoha all had anti-chakra sensor seals all throughout premises. These allowed Jiraiya the perfect way to relax and distress when starting a holiday. The thing was that Jiraiya needed a place to test the seals out in the first place. One person who wasn't so lucky about running into Itachi was Sasuke Uchiha. That though was exactly what the younger of the two brothers planned on. When he had found out that Itachi had been in Konoha looking for Naruto as well as putting his sensei into a coma, well, Sasuke was very angry at this point in time. The fight, if you could call it one, was more along the lines of a one-sided domination that ended very quickly. The end result was Sasuke lying incapacitated on the ground after the usage of the most powerful genjutsu in Itachi's arsenal. This was a sight that Madogai would find when he came searching for the Uchiha heir. Who knew, maybe Itachi was here for Sasuke and not Naruto. Naruto was unaware to all of this though, as he readily waited to find out what his new sensei was going to teach him. Naruto did not have to wait long at all to find out. What I am going to teach you is the art of handed ninjutsu. The moment that those words came out of the mouth of Jiraiya, Naruto's eyes widened. Once he learned this, the blonde-haired boy realized that he wouldn't have to put his sword back in its sheath to use ninjutsu. This would mean that he would also have a form of defense when he was just about to go on offense. It would improve his shinobi skills. It was needless to say that the eyes of the blonde-haired boy widened. Even whilst injured, he was still going to get stronger, and that made Naruto happy as his dream of becoming the Hokage of Konoha was not going down the drain. Naruto was not the only person who was getting training to become a better shinobi. The Hyuga prodigy felt that now he was going to start getting somewhere in his shinobi career. As harsh as it might have been to say, Neji did agree with what Tenza-sensei had said about his team. Whilst Tenten was certainly better than the other kunoichi for her age group, his cousin included, there was a significant difference in ability between himself and her. With the way that he was progressing in skill as well as the words of Tenzu about Tenten progressing slowly, that gap was only going to get even bigger. In a slightly different situation, Rock Lee, the difference in skill between the two was going to get even bigger. With the injuries that he had suffered from the damage dealt by Gaara, Lee was not going to be getting better anytime soon. Even when he did get better, his muscle atrophy was going to be so severe that it would take a long time for Lee to build up the muscle once more. Finally, if all that wasn't bad enough, by the time Lee got back up to the same level he was before the injury, Neji was going to be so far more advanced it wouldn't even be a contest. If Neji didn't want to stagnate as a shinobi, he was going to have to distance himself from Team 9. Gai-sensei was going to have to do a lot of missions for the recovering Konoha. It meant that unfortunately Neji was going to be thrown into the cold. Looking back on the offer that came from his new sensei, Neji had no regrets whatsoever with his decision to join Tenzu. Now that Neji had recovered from his injuries due to the wonderful work of the medical ninjas, the black-haired boy now had the all-clear to be able to train. Neji was excited for what was about to come. He did not have to wait long at all as his new sensei came into the clearing. Due to all of the duties that he had, Tenzu got to the point when he spoke up. Look Neji, there are a lot of ways that you can get better, but you will definitely improve much faster as a shinobi if you leave your pride behind. The scoff that shortly followed was one that not even someone as normally calm as Neji could hold back. The scoff wasn't that Neji thought that the Hyuga Taijutsu was so great. It was that Neji thought that he didn't even have an issue with his self-confidence. The look that Neji gave Tenzu was one that the Mokuton user could see through in an instant. Having the head of the Hyuga of your sensei, the Anbu commander could see right through Neji after having spent so much time with his uncle. Tenzu knew exactly about the arrogance that the clan had concerning their taijutsu. For your training, you are going to stop training in your taijutsu for the next month. There was what Tenzu described as a look of horror coming on the face of his student. It was understandable as it was what Neji's strong suit as a shinobi was. For his further development into a possible member of the Anbu Black Ops though, he was going to have to branch out into other areas of combat. You don't have to stop training in taijutsu for a whole month. You can do just enough to keep your proficiency, but the majority of your training will be focused on adding some long-range effectiveness into your arsenal. The Hyuga clan might be great when it comes to short-range combat, but you are pathetic when it comes to long-range combat. Why do you think that the majority of your clan only becomes special jonin and not actual jonin? It is because that your pride and your gentle fist prevents you from learning other things that will make you into better shinobi. Tenzu could see the apprehension on the face of Neji, and decided to say one last thing to convert Neji into the thought process of not solely focusing on his juken. Both your father and your uncle were two shinobi who don't rely solely on their taijutsu, and they were the two best shinobi that your clan has produced in a generation. If you ever want to reach their levels, you are going to have to stop limiting yourself. After hearing that his father and his uncle, 2 out of the 3 strongest people that he knew on a personal level, didn't rely on their taijutsu, Neji had made up his decision. This was because he wanted to not only be the best shinobi that the Hyuga clan had ever produced, but he didn't want to disappoint his father. There were a lot of insecurities regarding anything that was not the gentle fist. It was something completely new, and he hated being bad at something new. I want to become stronger. If that means that I have to learn something else, then I will do it to the best of my ability. As Neji said this, he couldn't help but hide the excitement in his eyes that all kids had when it came to learning something new about being a shinobi. Whilst the upbringing inside the Hyuga clan tried its best to make him grow up fast, unless you did something like what Danzo Shimura did to all of his root shinobi, then it was practically impossible to destroy a child's curiosity. Happy with the outcome, Tenzu knew the easiest way to get Neji to be a competent shinobi was to get him into some elemental ninjutsu. Elemental ninjutsu was a very broad subject and had a lot of different ways for it to be used. It would greatly enhance the possibilities that Neji had in terms of fighting. I'm glad to hear that, Neji. Now the first thing that I need to do is channel some of your chakra into this piece of paper. I am sure that you know about the elemental affinities and what the good and the bad for each element are. Well, this piece of paper will allow for you and me both to find out what element you are attuned to. The words coming from Tenzu seemed straightforward to the Hyuga prodigy. Taking a hold of piece of paper from his new sensei's hand, Neji waited little time to find out what affinity he was attuned to. Since no one in Team Guy had any interest in learning about elemental ninjutsu, there was no reason for Guy to bother seeing what elements they had affinities to. Watching his hand, the black-haired boy noticed how the piece of paper turned into a gluggy brown substance, one that Neji would associate with mud. The realization followed very shortly afterwards as Neji realized that he had an affinity to the earth element. Seeing this firsthand, Tenzu was not too surprised. This is good, Neji, for I am also someone who has a Doton affinity. Now since I have other things that I have to attend to right now, so we will get started on your training. This was something that excited Neji as this was going to be something outside of his comfort zone of taijutsu, and he was interested in learning new things. Alright, I want you to place your hands into the boar sign, channel some chakra and then place both of your hands onto the ground. From there you are just going to try and feel for any difference in the earth compared to when you do it without your chakra. The final thing that I doubt you will be about to progress that much before you run out of your chakra is trying to make some of the dirt rise out of the ground. What Neji lacked in raw chakra capacity, the prodigy of the Hyuga clan certainly made up for it in fine-tuned chakra control. High chakra control allowed Neji to quickly learn the tasks that he was tasked to do. Neji had placed his hands on the ground and tried to feel the difference that his sensei was talking about. Neji wasn't really sure what he was looking for. It was only when 1.5 hours had passed, and the boy was at the depths of his patience did he notice it. From the extended use of chakra and slight exhaustion, Neji was able to feel the vibrations that were running through the ground. Coming back from yet another meeting that as an Anbu captain he had to attend, Tenzu came to the training ground where he had left Neji to figure things out for himself and was moderately surprised. He honestly did not think that this was something that the boy would have completed in such a short amount of time. It was clear to Tenzu that Neji was a shinobi who had a great deal of potential inside of him. The expectations placed on him, and the title of genius being bestowed on him was not unfounded. Okay Neji, the next thing that you have to do is try and channel your chakra to where the vibrations are occurring in the earth. What this will do is that it will force the vibrations to move the earth that is above the ground. You don't have to try and control them to move the earth in a certain way. All I am asking for is for you to try and make the ground move. We can look at doing something more technical later. Nodding in affirmation, Neji knew what he had to do and started thinking about how he would go about it. It was not even half a minute before he turned around to have a look at his sensei only for him to notice that he was gone. There was a slight tick on the face of Neji. He was slightly angry with Tenzu, but there was nothing that Neji could do about it. Neji just wasn't used to the major difference in teaching methods that Gai-sensei and Tenzu-sensei had. It was then the slight pain coming from his stomach made the mind of the Hyuga prodigy go off on a tangent. Due to the kind nature of Gai-sensei, the man had been someone who would always bring lunch for all 3 of his students. Gai was a very hands-on teacher. Tenzu was not. He was the opposite. Both styles had their benefits. Once getting the food, the boy had to use his Byakugan to find his way back to where he was training. Hey! It was not his normal place to train, and it was the first time that he had even been there. Neji had a perfectly viable excuse for not getting there the fastest possible way. Having an hour lunch break, Neji got back to his training and put as much focus and intensity as what he would do when it came to his Hyuga Taijutsu and Hyuga Ninjutsu. 4 hours later and Neji was absolutely exhausted. He had spent all of his time and chakra on trying to do what his sensei had asked of him. Those 2 hours brought frustration to Neji as he quickly learned that trying to control the vibrations going through the ground was much harder than he first thought. The main thing that the Hyuga prodigy cursed was the simple issue in that he didn't have enough chakra and had to use it very sparingly. The black-haired boy resolved that from now on, he would increase his chakra reserves. This was so that he could use future Doton ninjutsus that he learned in combination with his taijutsu and his Hyuga clan jutsus. In the end though, the amount of fatigue that Neji was suffering from was worth it. The Byakugan wielder was successful in the task that he had set out to accomplish. Neji had managed to control the vibrations going through the ground and create a hole in the ground. It might have not been much in comparison to all of the potential that Doton jutsus contained, but for someone who was a first-timer, it was quite remarkable the amount of progress that Neji had made in one single day. It was a job well done in the eyes of Neji as he fell onto his back and stared at the setting sun. Whilst my original goal was to become better than the entire main branch by beating them at their own game, but now, thanks to Naruto, I don't want to be a caged bird to them. I want to be my own person. I want to be someone who isn't just another standard Hyuga. I want to be something more than that. Hopefully with this training in Doton, I will be able to improve to a much higher level than what I would have done being in that cage of broken dreams. As these self-reflecting thoughts of himself took place in his mind, the black-haired boy did not realize that there was someone coming. On reflection, he would have cursed himself as it could have been a possible enemy. Thankfully though, it was only his new sensei. Well, I must say you managed to do more than I expected from you. I am impressed with how quickly you picked this up. As Neji was getting out of the trance that he was in, there was a smirk of superiority that was etching onto his face as he was proud of what he had done. He didn't think that anyone else he knew would have been able to accomplish such a thing. Thanks to the talking with his sensei as well as Neji's sensei, Tenzu knew that the Hyuga prodigy didn't need any more of an ego boost. I wouldn't hold that smile on your face for very long. Tomorrow is the first day with me being your sensei that I have off. This means that I will finally have a chance to see how good of a shinobi you really are. In conjunction, you will also have to replicate the same proficiency in Doton manipulation that you showed just then. Unlike your other senseis who have held back, I will not be holding back as much, so be prepared for some injuries. Doing his best, Neji tried to display his best poker face too and make it out as if he was not intimidated at all. That was not to be, however. As a veteran member of the Anbu Black Ops, Tenzu knew how to spot a bluff. Like his commanding officer in the Anbu, the Mokutan user decided to instantly change the mood as he spoke up. Given the subject, it was prudent that there was a change in tone. "How dare you!" Ino called out, immediately running up to Naruto and slapping him in the face. The blonde-haired boy was at a loss, not knowing what had happened. Even more so confused when she wrapped her arms around him and gave him the tightest hug that he had ever received. "Don't you realize how much I miss you when you got scooped by that old man? I was so tired that I couldn't put up a fight, and to see you so vulnerable getting taken away. Then you were gone without a trace for a week without any way of being found. No chakra signature at all. I even asked my daddy to find you and he said that you had no chakra signature. Do you know what that means? I thought you were dead." Seeing the tears that were threatening to break from Ino's eyes onto her cheeks hit harder than the tailed beast ball that Naruto received at the hands of Shikaku. He caused her to feel pain like that. During the fight he could feel the raw emotion she had, wanting him to be safe and come back alive. That she cared for him. More than anyone else had ever cared for him. "I'm so sorry, Ino. Please, you have to believe me. I didn't want to make you sad. I'm not really used to having people care for me. I am used to being by myself." He panicked. The last thing he wanted was to lose someone close to him. Death would be kinder. "Well, that shit has to change. You can't keep thinking that you're out here alone cause you're not. You've got me." Still highly annoyed at Naruto, although her empathetic nature tried to imagine what it was like for Naruto growing up, having only himself to rely on. The anger that Ino was directing at him actually caused him to smile. It shows that she cares. If she didn't care, she would just stay silent. Said smile was not good for the genin though, as it only served to infuriate the Yamanaka heir. "What the hell are you smiling for? Do you like seeing me angry at you? Because I'll give you angry, you fucking asshole." It was probably not the best idea for the smile to grow even bigger. "It shows that you care." "Of course I fucking care, you arrogant piece of shit. Don't you? If the positions were reversed, would you care as much?" Seeing the stunned expression on the face of Naruto gave her all the information she needed. "No, I doubt you would, wouldn't you?" Her hands were on the sides of her hips, waiting impatiently for an answer. "I would too. I care a lot. I just don't know how to show it. I'm sorry, Ino, I really am. I'll make sure I am better next time," Naruto said, holding her shoulders and looking into her eyes. His heart was pounding. She looked unsure for a second before caving. The intensity of that stare. "Oh my God! Humph, it better," she said with arms folded across her chest. "Now come with me. There's something I have to tell you. I think I am onto some gossip." As she said this, Naruto blushed, his whole face going red as Ino softly grabbed one of his hands and led him to a training ground where there was no one else around. When they got there, Ino sat Naruto down before sitting opposite from him. She knew this conversation was going to be delicate. "Naruto, what happened when you asked people if they knew who your parents were?" she questioned with concern. She even reached out and held his hand. Immediately, alarm bells went off in his head, wondering why Ino of all people would bring up his parents, or lack thereof. "Why is she doing this?" Answering truthfully, Naruto replied. "Whenever I asked the Sandaime, he would just tell me that he didn't know. That they probably just died during the fight with the fox." A frown appeared on his face as he didn't like thinking about it. "I think he was lying." Ino dropped the bombshell and watched how Naruto reacted. "No, that can't be," Naruto replied back instantly, far too quickly to give it any meaningful thought. Too many times in the past he had questioned it. It hurt to think that someone close to him would have lied to him, especially someone that had just recently passed. Surely. There's no way he could have not known who the parents of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki were. The Kyuubi is such an important asset to the village. She grimaced as the words came out of her mouth. As much as she was right, it sounded foul talking about Naruto like that. Naruto started clutching the grass below, and started taking in large breaths. "Remember what we talked about before, Naruto. The best way for you to become the best version of yourself is to confront the topics that hurt. That way, you can learn and grow from them. When you were away healing, I was doing my own research." Naruto perked up when he heard this, then his eyes narrowed. "What did she find? Has anyone told you look similar to the Yondaime?" Ino hesitantly questioned, knowing that this was going to be a sensitive topic. Unsure where this was going, Naruto replied. "Some people commented it, and I even thought at one point that maybe he was my dad, when I was a toddler. Then when I found out that I had the Kyuubi sealed inside of me, That thought died because what parent would seal a demon inside their child if they knew how hard their life was going to be? Plus, every time I asked the Hokage if he knew who they were, he said he didn't know. After asking enough times, I just gave up because not knowing was easier than getting disappointed. Naruto questioned out loud, looking up at the sky. It was something that he had long wondered. Of course, he had noticed the striking similarity of the man. How could he not? His room had a window overlooking the monument. But like every difficult and painful emotion that he was confronted with, Naruto buried those thoughts. It was easier to not think about it rather than hope for answers and be disappointed when he got none. That, and it meant he didn't have to confront any negative emotions. Whenever I was angry and it showed, the looks I got were more intense. Ino had those same thoughts. She could see what was going through his head. In her psychology textbooks, she had read all about dissociation disorders where a person would disconnect from their emotions, making it easier to cope with trauma. Her heart went out to him, yet again finding more depth in the blonde that she never knew existed 6 months ago. It was written all over Naruto. He deserves to have people care about him and help him out. He deserves to know who his parents are. That was what Ino told herself. I think he is your father, and I think I know who your mother is as well, Ino firmly mentioned, looking Naruto in the eyes, who drifted his attention back to her, laser-eyed focus given to her. You're like my best friend Ino, but don't joke with me on this. Please! Please! Whilst Naruto tried to come across as forceful, the last please came out as a cry. She ignored Naruto calling her his best friend externally. Her psychologist's mindset saw that as Naruto not having many connections. He's so vulnerable right now. I just want you to know, Naruto, that no matter what, I am by your side forever. It doesn't matter how you process your emotions, I am not going to judge you. Promise? It sounded a lot more frail than he intended. Promise of a lifetime, she said with the utmost certainty. There was something about the blonde that just made her trust him implicitly. That he would always have her back through thick and thin. There was a bit of a LUL in the conversation before Ino brought it back. Look, don't judge me for what I did, but I kind of committed a crime. She giggled. That made Naruto question, just what has she done? So when I was younger, I had been fascinated by the Yondaime. He was everyone's hero after all. To which Naruto nodded. I always wondered about his love life, and I remember my dad telling me something along the lines of there was a girl that he always spent time around. He left it at that, and I soon got a crush on Sasuke, so I didn't look into it further. Ino's father is Inoichi. He's the clan head of the Yamanaka clan. He's probably the same age as the fourth, and also around the same age. He probably knows him personally. Naruto questioned as he put the pieces together. That was, until your fight, Naruto. You know how there's all those paintings of the Yondaime standing on top of the toad and staring down at the fox? He nodded immediately. Of course he did. He had fantasized about those drawings for ages. Well, when I was watching your fight, standing on top of the snake, it looked the exact same. Exact same? She repeated herself for emphasis. Sure, but that's a bit of a stretch? Don't you think? Well, then I looked back at the Hokage monument and saw the fourth's face and his. I swear you to look identical. You have the same eyes, same eyebrow structure, same jaw structure, same hair color. There was just too much that was similar. Unaware that Naruto was struggling to keep up as his natural desire was to dissociate, Ino continued on speaking. So with new motivation, I went to the library and may or may not have used a family jutsu combined with a genjutsu on the receptionist for all of the information on the Yondaime Hokage and the lady he was with quite frequently. And do you want to know what I found? As much as this was about Naruto and finding out who his parents are, Ino was also excited to share what her detective skills had found. What? Naruto questioned. Up until this point he still didn't believe what Ino was saying. Her name is Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto went still at the mentioning of the lady's last name. That last name was too much of a coincidence. No. No. It can't be. Naruto screamed, clutching his head. His heart sank into his stomach, and his heart rate was beating the fastest it ever has. No, why would he do that? Why would he seal the QB inside me? Am I all just some kind of tool for the village? Naruto started crying, and it wasn't the regular crying. It was the ugly crying where you blow bubbles from your mouth and snot dribbles from your nose, that no matter how much you wipe with your sleeve, it's still there. Tears freely formed and fell down his whiskered cheeks. Anguish and guilt filled Ino. Did I do the right thing? She questioned, second-guessing herself after seeing the reaction to Naruto. In the end her resolve deepened with one thought. He deserves to know. If I was him, I would want to know who my parents are. In a movement that shocked Ino to the core, Naruto channeled the Kyuubi's chakra into his hand and punched a tree, leaving a sizable divot in it. Having also researched more about Jinchuriki when she found out from Naruto that he was one, she moved over, hesitant due to the visible Kyuubi's chakra, and wrapped him in a hug. This doesn't change a thing, Naruto. I am still going to be by your side, no matter what. It doesn't change anything? It changes fucking everything. My whole life I have been lied to. All I ever asked from the Sandaime was who were my parents. He knew the whole time and lied to my face multiple times. Kakashi is the fucking Yondaime's student, and he taught us the bare fucking minimum. I don't even know anything about Jiraiya, who was my father's sensei. So many people fucking knew, and they have all done the absolute least amount of effort required. At this point, Naruto started sobbing yet again, feeling utterly worthless. Am I not good enough to deserve love? Why do all these bad things keep happening to me? In that moment right there, Ino Yamanaka's heart shattered. Seeing the boy she was starting to crush on crying his heart about, feeling worthless, and that he didn't deserve affection or love destroyed her. Fuck 'em all. How dare they? Naruto has always gone above and beyond for those around him. All he wanted was friends at the academy, and tried to make people happy. Her heart was wrenching inside of her chest, screaming out to her. Acting on instinct, she reached over and hugged Naruto and started crying herself. Hearing Ino cry, Naruto looked up. Why are you crying? Don't pity me. Naruto weakly called out through the blubbering mess that he was. Her emotions were consuming her. I am not pitying you. I am crying with you. I can feel your energy and it hurts. I don't want you to go through this alone. Naruto merely started crying even more, embracing, hug and squeezing Ino as much as he could. Careful, Naruto. She called out with a giggle, wiping her stray hair behind her ear. Thank you for telling me everything. You have no idea how much this means to me. Naruto murmured as he stared into her eyes and curled the hair on the other side behind her ears. Unaware of the huge blush that was quickly forming on her face, Naruto acted on instinct and leant forward, pressing his lips softly onto her own. He held her cheeks softly, like they might break in his hands. Her lips are so soft. Is this what an angel feels like? As much as he didn't want to, Naruto broke off the kiss before he quickly kissed her on her exposed forehead, still hugging her cheeks. The duo let the moment run its course, and they just stayed there, by themselves, embracing their first kiss. You better be my boyfriend, you hear me? Ino declared via humor. No one is getting between us. If this is what love feels like, then no one is taking him away from me. I would be honored, as long as you'll be my girlfriend. Chapter 14. Things were going great for Naruto. Riding the high of having his first official girlfriend that was Ino freaking Yamanaka no less, he was flush with drive. He wanted to achieve everything and give it all to her. After they proclaimed they would be boyfriend and girlfriend, Ino even then produced a photo that he had no idea how she had managed to find, yet she did. It was a photo of his probable mother Kushina Uzumaki. Whilst he had no official proof that she was his mother, his gut instinct was telling him that this was his mother. He was also getting much better in the use of his one-handed seals. It was hard work, but he was proud with the progress that he had made. The first thing that his new sensei had made him do was to do a jutsu without his hands touching but still being as close as possible. This was harder than first thought for Naruto, as he thought that it would be a walk in the park. It was far from that, as the Naruto had several of his wind ninjutsu blow up in his face. It was thanks to the Kyuubi no Kitsune that the genin did not have any scars littering his face. Naruto was not only thankful for the Kyuubi healing his injuries that stemmed from botched training attempts. The blonde-haired boy was also thankful for the giant fox demon's ability to heal serious injuries. Jiraiya had been underestimating the power that the Kyuubi had when it came to regeneration. The crippling injury that he had suffered at the hands of the Ichibi no Shikaku was now nearly at 65% in comparison to where it was at before the attack. Now he could walk on it with ease. Naruto had been informed that he was going to be spending the rest of time healing at Jiraiya's apartment until they left for their mission. Naruto wasn't happy with that. He was used to being independent. Oigaki! Now that you aren't that much of a liability anymore, it's time for me to get down to business. The attention of Naruto was given to Jiraiya, although this was not done without glare being sent in the direction of the Toad Sannin. Unaffected by the look his godson was giving him, Jiraiya continued to speak. Now I am going to tell you the real reason as to why I picked you up after your fight and didn't just leave for you in the clearing for the medical ninjas coming. We have a mission that we have to complete. The moment that the words came from his mouth, Naruto noticed the immediate mood change in the seal master. It showed the boy that maybe he was wrong when it came to the man in front of him. Maybe when the situation called for it, he could turn on his shinobi mode. Not only was Jiraiya becoming serious, Naruto instantly gave the silver-haired man his undivided attention as he wanted to absorb as much information as he possibly could when it came to his next mission. He wasn't dumb enough to not notice that if he was being specifically picked to go on a mission with one of the Densetsu no Sannin, then it was a mission of paramount importance. Due to the unfortunate death of the Sandaime Hokage, Konoha is at one of its lowest points in a long time. This means that we have to rebuild as quick as possible and with as much stability as can be afforded. To do this, Konoha will need a new Hokage to govern the village. When the bombshell was dropped on the blonde-haired boy, his eyes went as wide as saucers. His mind instantly started going through all of the people that would be able to do the prestigious job of Konoha's Hokage, the service and dedication that it needed. The first thought that ran through his mind was his sensei Kakashi Hatake. The man was a decorated legend of the Anbu Black Ops, and he was someone who had copied 1,000 jutsus during his time as a ninja. He was someone who garnered respect from everywhere he went in Konoha. This meant that he was also someone who gathered fear every time he went outside of Konoha's walls. His sensei was someone who was always late, but Naruto knew that that was something that would easily change if he was given the title of Hokage. The only other person that he knew that was capable of becoming the Hokage and doing the job its justice was Jiraiya-sama. Whilst he knew that the man was not the most serious of people all of the time, Jiraiya was someone who was incredibly powerful, and with him alone being inside Konoha on a constant basis, he would prevent every army from attacking just with his presence alone. There was only one other person that Naruto could think of who had the required skill level of a shinobi that is required for being a Kage, and also had the right mentality to be able to lead the village through tough times. That person was Tsunade Senju. It was definitely prejudgmental on the behalf of Naruto, but he had this belief that since she was the student of the third Hokage and a direct relative to the first and second Hokages, then she would be more than ideal for the job. With all of her medical ninjutsu, she would be able to treat all of the injuries that had happened in the war, and hopefully she would heal Rock Lee. Because both he and Jiraiya were outside of the village right now meant that there was only one option for the position of Hokage. If they were going to appoint Jiraiya-sensei or Kakashi-sensei to be the Godaime Hokage, then they wouldn't have needed to travel to wherever they were right now. The smart mind of Naruto was easily able to think of the outcome. Tsunade-sama is going to be the Godaime Hokage of Konoha, isn't she, sensei? Naruto said with a blank look on his face. Much to Jiraiya's delight and surprise, he was impressed with how quickly Naruto had come to that thinking. Watching his godson think things through brought a lot of melancholy to the man. It was as if he was looking at Minato growing up for a second time. Those thoughts were quickly pushed to the depths of his mind as he wanted to focus on Naruto and not on Minato. It would be a disservice and an injustice if he did anything of the sort. That is correct, Naruto. If you keep your thinking as sharp as that, then you are going to become a Jonin in no time at all. The praise was not lost on the genin, as he was still not really used to getting praise and compliments from people in general, let alone such an important person as Jiraiya. He gave a slight blush and a bashful smile in return, as he wasn't really sure what he was supposed to do. He's complimenting me too much. It's like he wants to be my friend. Meanwhile, in the mind of Jiraiya, something had happened the day before and he wasn't there to witness it. Whatever it was, Naruto has been getting this cold look on his face, exactly like Orochimaru. I need to monitor this. I'm only going to go if you bring someone else on this mission as well. Come on, brat. Having another person is going to cramp my style. It better not be some other genin. They won't be able to keep pace with the great Jiraiya. He said it whilst doing his usual proclamations. Whilst he didn't outright say no, he wanted to see how much Naruto would fight for this and if this person was responsible for the change overnight in Naruto. It's Ino Yamanaka. Oh, it's Inoichi's little daughter, huh? Is she your girlfriend or something? Jiraiya questioned, hoping to fluster his newest student. So what if she is? Naruto replied back in a defensive tone. A light kid. Get her and let's get cracking on this mission. He was curious to see just who had Naruto gotten as a girlfriend. I wonder if the apple falls far from the tree? Plus, having a girl on the trip might convince Tsunade even more. Naruto raced to get his girlfriend to come on the mission with him. Knocking on the door of the clan compound, he was greeted with the sight of Inoichi Yamanaka. It was a quick introduction, with Ino shoving Naruto out the door before any proper conversation could start. He was wearing the same outfit he had during the Chunin exams. She was wearing a purple sleeveless V-neck crop top, a short skirt with a pair of spandex gym shorts underneath. Naruto couldn't help but double-take, stammering for words which earned him a kiss on the cheek. Sometimes you didn't need to verbally compliment a woman. Even Jiraiya spared a minor glance. Kid picked good. She's going to be a knockout when she's older. If you're going to be teaching me, then you're also going to have to start teaching her too, Naruto boldly stated, to which Jiraiya laughed. What makes you think you're the one calling the shots here? Do you not remember who I am? Unafraid of the man ever since he found out the man was a close friend of his father, Naruto returned the stare. Do you know who I am? Naruto replied, causing Jiraiya to stare at him, decades of training masking his facial expression. Surely he doesn't know, does he? Avoiding answering the question, Jiraiya turned to Ino. What makes you think I'd risk my reputation to train her? Everyone I have trained has turned into an S-rank shinobi. It wasn't a humble brag. It was straight up bragging. How many other senseis could say that their students turned into S-rank? Not many, that's for sure. TCH, she scoffed. How dare he insult her like that? Just like Naruto, Ino had her own opinions about the man should have made more of an effort to be in the life of Naruto. Let me guess, I'm the big bad Jiraiya her. Me be strong. Me go bam bam. As she said this, Ino imitated a gorilla and put on a fake deeper voice, causing Naruto to laugh. Let's face it, you probs don't have the ability as a sensei to train someone different from yourself. You've got a lot of sass, girl. I like it. I can see why Naruto likes you. Because you take after his mother. Seeing Naruto blush made Ino smirk. Alright, now tell me your skills. Genjutsu, Kenjutsu, Clan Jutsu, One-Handed Ninjutsu and Chakra-Enhanced Speed. She rattled off but was keen to learn more. So you're going down the path of assassination specialist? Jiraiya asked, to which she rapidly nodded. Well, that's always going to be a good skill, but I think that you're going to need to be a bit more well-rounded. It sounds like you're a glass cannon and great offensively. I've got the perfect jutsu to round out your skills and then improve your fashion. Jiraiya grinned, to which Ino rolled her eyes. As if this guy knows anything about fashion. Tiger, horse, boar, ram, rat, snake. Jiraiya called out as his hair elongated and wrapped around himself. Oh cool! You can grow out your hair! Ino questioned with gleam in her eyes. Ever since she had cut her hair during the second round, she missed it. After all, it wasn't really a choice but a necessity, and she had spent the better part of 4 years growing it to that length. Having memorized the seals, the pale blonde tried it for the first time, channeling chakra into her hair. The end result was her hair that was down to her bottom of her neck, now went to her lower back. Damn, I didn't get it longer. Ino sighed, annoyed. Brat, it took me a couple of weeks to get it that good. Kids these days. I want to learn something too. Naruto piped up, joining the conversation. Well kid, you are going to learn the art of Fuinjutsu, Jiraiya proclaimed, getting the first big smile from Naruto. Instantly, Naruto had a smile on his face as he knew that Fuinjutsu was very hard to learn. Naruto was positively beaming. He had finally found a shinobi art that he was above average at. Scratch that, Naruto knew that he was damned good at the art of Fuinjutsu. Jiraiya was rightfully impressed and proud of what he had seen Naruto accomplish in such a short space of time. Not only did the Gaki get the theory down for sealing, which was a surprise, Naruto also had the practical know-how to implement theory into results. Somehow the theory that went behind the scenes into Fuinjutsu all made sense. The Uzumaki child had obviously inherited the talent that had made his clan so famous over the years. Naruto was reading over the formulas which combined with brush strokes allowed to make a basic storage scroll on the first day of training. Watching as Naruto was powering through the bookwork that was necessary, the silver-haired man, Jiraiya couldn't help but wonder what Naruto would be like with a couple of solid years training in seals. Under his careful supervision, Jiraiya instructed Naruto on how to correctly go through the procedure of writing up a seal. First there were the brushstrokes that had to be done almost perfectly. Luckily this was something that Naruto had little trouble with thanks to the training he put on himself before he was inducted into the Snake Clan. The next part, Naruto in his opinion so far, was the hardest thing about sealing. That was the fact that you had to have quite good chakra control to be able to effectively use seals. It wasn't so much the incredible precision that was needed to be a medic ninja, but it was a different kind of chakra control that Naruto was not used to yet. Despite the way that Naruto was blitzing through the theoretical work, the Toad Sannin did not expect for the blonde-haired boy to make a seal correctly the first time. He was right as he watched as Naruto put the finishing touches on the seal and channeled chakra into it. The parchment rolled up into a perfect sealing scroll, and Naruto thought that he had done it successfully. When he tried to test it out by sealing a leaf into it, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki realized that he couldn't unseal the leaf. This was only a problem that would last a short while though, as Naruto managed to figure out what the issue was all by himself, and then go about fixing it. He needed to add an array with 2 brush strokes and then bam! Before Naruto could further his knowledge in Fuinjutsu, Jiraiya stopped him from any more studying as he wanted to make sure that Naruto was prepared for the influx of memories. He didn't care that Naruto had used the jutsu before for training. If Naruto continued to do it that way, he would no doubt develop some mental issues, and that was something that no one wanted for the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. It was better to be careful than throw caution out the window. Naruto was making significant progress in the one-handed seals department as now that he had gotten the hand seals down, the blonde-haired boy was practicing chakra manipulation that he normally did with 2 hands one-handed. He was pretty much a third of the way to where his sensei said he needed to be before he could move on to the next step. When the clones dispersed and the information came back to him, Naruto felt dizzy for a while as he filtered all of the knowledge that the clones had. It only took 5 minutes, but Naruto was as good as ever once it was done. To end the day, Naruto practiced his taijutsu on his sensei, and he got absolutely schooled. It was to no surprise that Naruto did not win. He was a genin going up against an elite jonin. Not to be outdone, Ino had managed to get down the first of the hair-based ninjutsus. All she got from Jiraiya in regards to the next one was okay, so that's the defensive part down, turn it into an offensive move. Waking up the next morning, Jiraiya was naturally up first, and in a surprising turn of events, it was Ino that was up before Naruto. She was wearing a matching set of pink long-sleeved pajama shirt and pants. "So Jiraiya-sensei, there's something else I want you to teach me," Ino confidently asked as she strode into the kitchen. She sat down at the table, watching as Jiraiya cooked breakfast. "And what's that?" Not looking over his shoulder, focusing on the food. "I want to learn all about your spy network." As she said this, Ino saw Jiraiya tense. I expected that. What she didn't expect was for him to turn around after having turned the stove off so he could give her his full attention. "What makes you think I have a spy network?" He merely replied back. She rolled her eyes. "The fact that you're entertaining this conversation. Look, I've been around Daddy long enough for me to know you have a spy network. My whole family is rooted in psychology, the mind, and interrogation." "Well, you're correct. You're switched on, girl. Not many shinobi your age are interested in this sort of thing." A smirk was what he got in return. "That's because I am not most normal shinobi. Guess I'll be getting that S-rank status after all, huh? How do I even know you're good at this type of thing? What have you achieved?" This was a test, and she knew it. "Well, I found out that Naruto has the Kyuubi inside of him. I was the queen of gossip in the academy, spread rumors that broke up friendships, toyed with boys' feelings, and was the envy of every girl there. They thought I was a bitch. I thought they were jealous. Some of her actions she regretted, most she didn't. Plus, who else would you teach it to? Naruto doesn't care about this sort of thing, and there's no one else that if you gave me even 6 months doing this, that would be better than me. That confidence is going to get you in a lot of trouble, girl." The problem was, though, that she was right. Naruto had no interest in being a spy master, and with his status as a Jinchuriki, him leaving the village would get harder and harder, especially as Akatsuki made their move. Having someone interested in it, plus that was a Yamanaka, made it a huge bonus. "All right then, kid, you've made your case. What happens when you get captured behind enemy lines and you're all on your own?" "It won't happen." "It will." "What happens then?" "Then either I get tortured, raped, and die, or die straight away. Or if it really came down to it, then I am sure Naruto would go to every length just shy of releasing the Kyuubi on whoever it was that captured me," Ino said with full confidence, and only now was Jiraiya realizing just how smart the girl was. "Are you dating Naruto for the power that he holds?" Jiraiya fumed, throwing killing intent directly at the girl. The insinuations she was making. "No, I just know that I would do the exact same thing for Naruto. Now that you mention, why are you all of a sudden jumping into Naruto's life? Is it because the Sandaime just died and Naruto needs a new role model figure to keep him connected to Konoha? Or is it because of Naruto summoning snakes that you want to make sure he doesn't turn into Orochimaru? Or is there something else? Unlike you and everyone else in the village, I actually give a shit about the real Naruto Uzumaki, not the one that Konoha wants him to be." Passion was flying towards the end there, and she was raising her voice, but she was not breaking eye contact. It was not only Naruto that was affected by the news of who his parents were. She, as his girlfriend, saw the pain and struggle that he was feeling in that moment. So many years of emotions coming to the surface, and this man, who was supposed to be close to Naruto, did fuck all. That, and she was relying on her status as a clan heir to protect her from any serious damage. "You're Inoichi's daughter, are you?" Jiraiya questioned, avoiding everything the girl had said, giving her satisfaction that what she said was right. Calculating eyes looked at the blonde in front of him in a new light. "She's just as dangerous as Tsunade was at the same age, if not more so." "No, I am Ino Yamanaka, and you'd best learn that." One Uzumaki Naruto, who had overheard the discussion, couldn't help but grin a big smile. That was his girlfriend. Brutal physical training sessions occurred. Ino half thought Jiraiya was reacting to their previous conversation and taking it on them. She was right. Have to keep up. Have to keep up. She mentally told herself, the last thing she wanted was to fall behind Naruto. Using rocks and bands with seals inscribed on them by Jiraiya, the duo pushed their bodies harder than they had before. Just when they thought they couldn't push any harder, they found more and more energy. Then came the food. There was lots of it. Designed to maximize the training sessions. Unlike what most people thought, Jiraiya didn't give them protein. It wasn't protein that went to the muscles after a workout, it was carbs. Therefore, fast-acting sugars such as berries, ice cream were the choice. Not that either genin were complaining. When that was done, they went and did their own training with Naruto, focusing on seal-less jutsu and seals. Meanwhile, Ino was practicing her new hair ninjutsu, increasing her fine control over chakra-enhanced speed, and whatever time she had left over, it was spent with Jiraiya going ever minor detail about his spy network and how it worked. Playing the fool, a position that he had perfected over the years, Jiraiya turned in the direction of his former teammate and spoke loudly. Tsunade. Tsunade raised her eyebrow, seeing the two students that Jiraiya had brought along with him this time. One she immediately recognized, the other was a mystery. To what do I owe the pleasure? Is today the day of old reunions? She murmured, although Jiraiya heard it, telling him everything he needed to know. The trio sat down as Jiraiya and Tsunade kept speaking in verbal spars to see who would crack first. Orochimaru, did anything happen? Not that much at all. We just had a little greeting, Tsunade said as she somehow managed to keep her words controlled enough. Jiraiya, having spent enough time around the woman, knew that her speech was slurring a little bit. What he also saw was the poignant stare that Tsunade sent in the direction of Shizune. It was no doubt telling the black-haired lady that she was not to speak at all about what had happened moments ago. It was at this stage that the waitress came and got the orders for the trio, and promptly came out with drinks for the two. A soft drink for Naruto, and some rice wine for Jiraiya. So you two, why'd you come to see me this time? Tsunade asked as she was genuinely curious to see one of the familiar faces that she hadn't seen in a long time. To see your tits. What, can't us great friends that have stood the test of time together catch up once in a while? As the silver-haired man said this, he said it in a jovial tone with a smile on his face. There was a bit of a drunken blush on the face of Tsunade. It was not because she was starting to feel anything towards the man in front of her. It was just because she hadn't seen Jiraiya for such a long time, and the fond memories combined with the high amounts of alcohol allowed for the blush to spread on her face. Knowing Jiraiya, though, he wouldn't have come here unless there was something of importance. This was especially true considering the last time these two met. Heated words had been thrown back and forth, and Tsunade had drunken stated that she never wanted to see his face for a long, long time. It was something that the buxom blonde regretted quite a lot. Jiraiya knew how to brighten up someone's life. The look coming from the face of Tsunade, Jiraiya knew that the blonde-haired woman was having a really hard time believing his story. To tell you the truth, Konoha has issued a request for you to come back and become the Godaime Hokage. There was a definite intake of air coming from both Tsunade and Shizune. As this was happening, wide-eyed expressions as they could not believe what they had just heard. Tsunade was someone who hated Konoha more than anyone save for her former teammate that she just saw. To think that she would just come to Konoha was a far stretch of the imagination. For to become the Hokage of Konoha, well, Tsunade would tell him he's dreaming. With the third being. Jiraiya trailed off as he wasn't really sure how he was going to break this news to Tsunade. There was the actual hope that during the conversation that Tsunade had with Orochimaru, Orochimaru had told Tsunade of what he had done. The hope inside of Jiraiya was proved to be true when Tsunade spoke up next. It was Orochimaru's work, I know. He told me himself. Like usual, he felt that he needed to gloat to the world about it. So what's your answer? Jiraiya asked as he was relieved with the fact that he didn't have to tell Tsunade that her sensei was dead. As Jiraiya was saying this, he was fairly confident on what the answer coming out of Tsunade's mouth was going to be. With a snort of derision, Tsunade held her gaze to directly lock eyes with Jiraiya. Impossible. I decline. There was no real surprise on the face of the Toad Sannin. He knew what was about to come. The man just hoped that with Naruto around, the two of them might be able to crack the thicker outer shell that was Tsunade's emotional defense mechanism. This is the legendary slug Sannin Tsunade? How disappointing. With a bittersweet smile on his face that Tsunade didn't catch, the man who had loved the girl essentially on first sight spoke up. I remember in the past that you said the same thing when I asked you out. That Tsunade definitely heard, and for her response, the only thing that she did was look down at her lap. Naruto was incredibly surprised with the answer that Tsunade gave, though. What a waste of talent. As time revealed more and more secrets, the blonde felt less desire to become Hokage, but he still wanted the title. Naruto wanted to open his mouth and ask the question why she didn't want the position. He held his tongue though, as he felt like he was the third wheel in the conversation since his sensei hadn't introduced him yet. Naruto didn't want to jump in the conversation between two old friends. Tsunade was also surprised. She initially thought that since the kid wore a headband from her former village, that he would be appalled at someone turning down the offer to become the Hokage. Well, Tsunade did see the look on the boy's face, but she expected a bit of a confrontation between him and herself. Guessing that the brat was intimidated with her status, she decided to comment about it. "It seems that you got another blonde-haired, weak-willed student just like last time." Not knowing that the weak-willed student was actually the son of the man that she was criticizing, Tsunade had no idea why there was a scowl on the face of Naruto. If anything, she thought that he would be happy that he was being compared to the Yondaime Hokage. "He seems stupider than your last one though." The air went cold. Naruto stared down Tsunade with the coldest stare he could muster. Had she not been a ninja for 40 years longer than Naruto had been alive, she might have felt the effect. Ino too, as she knew how difficult Naruto was finding it with the revealed information. This time there was a bit of a scowl on the face of Jiraiya. He knew that Tsunade was heavily drunk, but that gave her no right to insult Naruto. Naruto could handle insults being thrown his way. He was used to them coming his way because of the Kyuubi and what effect that had on Konoha's populace. With a whisper, Tsunade continued on her tirade against Minato Namikaze. "Even the fourth Hokage died quickly. He gave his life up for the village. Life is different from money. It can't be gambled on that easily. Whoever puts their life at risk so easily didn't deserve it in the first place," Tsunade drunkenly declared. Shizune didn't miss the rather vicious looks that were coming from both Naruto and Jiraiya. Shizune wondered whether her sensei had pushed the rope line in the sand just that little bit too far. The black-haired woman hoped that this wouldn't bite Tsunade in the arse. "To think that the girls my generation look up to you. You're an embarrassment and a major disappointment." Ino agreed. This Tsunade was completely different from the one she had heard stories about. Everyone at the table went dead silent. Even the people who were in booths that were close by went dead silent. Tsunade couldn't believe what she had just heard. No one talked to her like that. Not even Jiraiya or Orochimaru, who she had known for practically her whole life, talked to her like that. She had been called a bitch before. That was something that she was not surprised by. She had been called that by a lot of jealous girls and women because of her bust. No one dared to state that she was a bad role model for aspiring kunoichi though. She had struggled so much during her career as a ninja trying to get rid of the stereotypes and sexism that was so ingrained into her industry. There were so many people that said that women shouldn't be ninjas. They were the same people who said that a woman's job was to serve the man of the house in whatever need. "Who the hell do you think you are, you little piece of shit? Do you know that I could crush your skull with a flick of a finger? You should really learn to know when you're in over your head. If you piss of the wrong person, they could kill you in an instant." The not-so-subtle threat was picked up by everyone at the table. Hearing the threat did not deter Naruto one bit. "I think you know exactly who I am." Tsunade, for the smallest of seconds, stilled in shock. "I am Naruto Uzumaki, and I can't believe what I am seeing. All I see in front of me is a bitter, jaded old woman who refuses to deal with her trauma and has to take it out on others to make herself feel better. What a sad and twisted life you live." The condescending and patronizing tone was evidently on display. The moment that the kid in front of her mentioned his name, Tsunade instantly shot a look of fury the way of Jiraiya. It was only after hearing the name did Tsunade realize why this kid was so familiar to her. Naruto was the very same child that little Kushina was having. She hated how Jiraiya brought someone who reminded her so much of a past time where there was a little bit more happiness in the world. "You have truly changed, Tsunade. I don't know what you have been thinking all of this time, but you have just said everything that is on your mind." The slight patronizing could not be held out of his voice. With a snort of derision, the buxom blonde spoke up. "Well, age changes people. I am already into my 50s. It's the same for Sensei. No wonder he died, he was too old to live in his dreams. Being the Hokage is shit. No one but a fool would want to become the Hokage." Tsunade tried to say this with apathy, but to Jiraiya, someone who knew her innately, he knew that there was bitterness inside of that voice. "You are the most selfish person I have ever met, and I've met the Uchiha. If this is how you view family, your grandfather and granduncle, then I am glad I didn't get my hopes up when meeting you. No doubt you would have treated your distant cousin even worse." He left the statement hanging, alluding to the fact that the Uzumaki and Senju clans were related. "He knows about the Uzumaki clan," was the shared thought between the two Sannin. Jiraiya gave a look, and after decades of being on a team together, she knew the look. It was divert. The last Senju was absolutely livid as to what this kid was saying. This was the first time in a long time that someone had gotten under her skin so easily. It was time to teach this wannabe ninja a lesson. "You've got some nerve, kid! How's about we take this outside and settle it like shinobi?" Naruto was happy. He didn't initiate this confrontation, but he was more than willing to put some perspective into this woman. It wasn't right for her to insult dead people. More importantly, it wasn't right to insult your dead family members. Like what was seen in many of the theater productions for the civilians, there was an empty street for the duel between Naruto and Tsunade to take place. Well, that was to be if you didn't count Jiraiya nor Shizune. Those two were waiting to see what was going to happen. In the mind of Jiraiya, he was wondering whether or not he was going to have to step in at some stage during this fight. Whilst Tsunade was heavily out of her prime and was just as equally intoxicated, if she was not careful or not feeling remorse, then the buxom blonde could kill Naruto very easily. The same could be said for Naruto though, as he could potentially do the same thing Tsunade was capable of. That was killing another person. Jiraiya could easily see the torrent of emotions running inside of his godson. If the boy tapped into the power of the Kyuubi, then he wasn't too sure if Tsunade would be able to handle that in her heavily intoxicated state. With confidence brimming not only because she was drunk, the buxom blonde decided initiating in some trash talk. "I have been one of the 3 legendary ninjas since before you were even born, kid. There is no need for me to go serious against someone like you." Yet again was there someone underestimating him and belittling him. It wasn't just this moment, but it was one that did contribute to Naruto getting the shittiest of first impressions possible from the lady. As far as he was concerned, this Sannin was no better in his eyes than the large majority of Konoha's population. Scoffing, Tsunade said one last thing before Naruto started running at her. "I bet that I could even beat you with one finger." As she was saying this, the inactive Konoha ninja forgot about her notorious history when it came to gambling. Hoping that Tsunade would continue to underestimate him, Naruto charged in at Tsunade with his hands behind him. The plan was that the blonde-haired woman would think that he wanted to engage in a straight taijutsu spar when that was the furthest thing from his mind. Letting the Uzumaki genin run up to her, Tsunade was not expecting for Naruto to start going through hand seals at a substantial pace when he was 5 steps away from her. "Wind release, drilling air bullet jutsu," Naruto called out as he ushered out his most powerful jutsu that didn't affect such a large area. Eyes widening at the threat that the compressed ball of wind posed, Tsunade bent down and leapt backwards using her thigh muscles. As she was landing down on the ground with Naruto's jutsu still coming for her, Tsunade jabbed her finger down at the ground. Thanks to her super strength and insane chakra control, the medical ninja did not take a single bit of tissue damage. As she did this, the dirt beneath her rose up due to the inertia following Tsunade's super strength. The makeshift wall was enough to block the incoming attack from her distant relative. Thanks to the wall's creation, it gave Naruto the time to be able to create some shadow clones with Tsunade none the wiser. 5 clones went around either side of the wall and 3 went over the top of it. Seeing the amount of clones that the boy had created, the shinobi mind inside of the intoxicated woman rationalized that they were nothing than the academy-taught clones. No one so young would be able to create anything more than that without suffering some sort of chakra exhaustion. Said chakra exhaustion would make the clones in front of her have some kind of deformities to them. Considering that they didn't anything wrong with them though, Tsunade was confident that these clones could not harm her. They were used merely for a distraction. Boy, was she was going to eat those words soon. The Toad Sannin could only sigh in disappointment because he didn't know just how much Tsunade had fallen in recent times. He thought that she would be at a level where she could fight off a fresh Jonin. Seeing her have trouble against a fresh Chunin though was embarrassment in his eyes for someone who had previously been so much better. It could only add on to the fact that she bet that she could beat his godson with the use of only one finger. Surprised that this kid was not as bad as she initially thought, Tsunade went on the offensive. Seeing all of the clones that the kid had made, the blonde-haired woman wanted to scare the boy into submission. To do this, Tsunade used her super strength from years of training to instantly shatter the wall that she had created merely moments earlier. With all of the rocks that had created going in all different directions but her own, Tsunade watched quite impressed that the clones that had been made by the boy were real and not just illusions. Like he had shown beforehand in glimpses, right now was another one of Naruto's bright and somewhat unconventional ideas. As there was a lot of smoke surrounding the area, the blonde-haired boy took this opportunity to make even more clones than the cover provided. Grabbing out his sword, Naruto and the 20 other versions of himself that he had just created ran out of the smoke in a conventional manner. Just because it was a straightforward approach, it certainly did not mean that it was not effective. Because of how close Naruto was, it made it extremely hard for Tsunade to defend against so many people trying to hurt her. This was not even considering that she had agreed to a bet where she would only use one finger to beat Naruto. Seeing the onrushing blondes, Tsunade could see just how much of a threat it could possibly pose. Bringing her finger down yet again to create another wall to protect herself, the buxom blonde only saw at the last minute the incoming attack. Unfortunately for her, the clone that had fired off the wind release, drilling air bullet jutsu had not been destroyed. What sucked even more was that it had not taken its hands out of the hand seal for said jutsu. This meant that there was little to no downtime, and it allowed the clone another chance to fire the jutsu. Since all of the chakra had gone to powering the jutsu, it dispelled the moment the jutsu was released. Faced with the option of taking the hit and getting her attack off or simply dodging the incoming attack, the subconscious mind of Tsunade reverted back on countless years of medical ninja training. The first instincts inside of the aging lady were to jump back and dodge the attack. Like always, the luck that followed Tsunade in her life was present once more. Once of the shards of the ground that she had destroyed had landed right in the path of her backwards jump. Combining this uneven terrain and her horrid motor control thanks to being completely wasted, Tsunade tripped over her own feet and landed flat on her arse. With the incoming Narutos readily awaiting the chance to deal off some damage, Tsunade negated her bet as she slammed her heel into the ground. This launched an offensive version of her previous move as the miniature tidal wave made out of rock ensued on Naruto. In an instant, all of the clones that Naruto had produced were destroyed by the rocks as they all got hit. Naruto wasn't any luckier, as he copped several rock blasts, and even one to the face. Despite all of this, he powered on through and launched an aggressive swing of his sword and the downed Tsunade. Had Naruto had the presence of mind to add wind chakra into the attack, then he would have killed one of the Densetsu no Sannin at the tender age of 13. Slicing across the top of Tsunade's chest, Naruto watched as his sword cut through the fabric of the sleeveless shirt of Tsunade. What he also watched was the way how his sword made a clean cut across the sternum. It was only thanks to her shirt resisting gravity that the Uzumaki genin did not get to see the unclothed chest of the woman in front of him. Ino wouldn't have liked that one bit. Red liquid was freely pouring out of her chest, and the moment that the woman looked down she was sent into a quivering mess. Seeing the somewhat catatonic state that his teammate of the good part of 40 years was in, Jiraiya instantly called a halt to the fight and went into his war general personality. "Naruto! This fight is over. Shizune, take the kids back to this hotel." As the silver-haired man said this, he handed the medical ninja key. Nodding as she knew an order and a dismissal when she heard one, Shizune shined over to Naruto and ushered him away from her master. Sure, she was concerned for the state that her sensei was in, but what she also knew was that there no one better in bringing Tsunade out of a depressing moment than Jiraiya. He had been the person who had brought Tsunade out from the metaphorical grave on her two worst occasions. Shizune was confident that Jiraiya would also be able to bring the old Tsunade back in no time at all. Feeling ecstatic that he had won the fight against such a famous fighter, Naruto was over the moon. That was why he did not question once when he heard the order from his godfather. He was too busy basking in the fact that he had defeated one of the Densetsu no Sannin. As for Jiraiya, he had made his way over to the downed blonde and gently picked her up in his arms. During the process, the top that Tsunade had destroyed was now letting Jiraiya get a great view on Tsunade's exposed tits. There was the massive boner killer though of there being quite a substantial amount of blood on them. Still, knowing that he would have his work cut out for him tonight, Jiraiya put a low-ranking genjutsu over Tsunade and then went to a hotel. Getting a high-quality room, Jiraiya headed to the place where absolutely no magic would happen. Getting into the bathroom and undressing Tsunade, he put her in the shower and washed off all of the blood that was on her. Once the blood flow had stopped, Jiraiya quickly used the limited knowledge he had on the only healing jutsu he knew to seal up the cut. Since the clothes that Tsunade had been wearing previously were now dirty, the man clothed his teammate in some pajamas, laid her in bed and kissed the crystal on her forehead. "The things that I do for you." It was some time later that Tsunade, being under the warm blankets, fell asleep as her breathing had slowed. The photo album definitely helped as the memories of happier times slowly but surely brought Tsunade out of her catatonic state of mind. In a rare sign of affection, Tsunade agreed to let Jiraiya sleep in the same bed as herself. The condition was that the two had to be fully clothed. That was certainly not something that the silver-haired man was going to argue about. After taking of his bracers and his headwear, Jiraiya hopped into his bed wondering what was going to happen tomorrow. The one thing that brought a massive smile to his face though was the slight smile on the face of the love of his life. It was nice to know that despite all of her protests, he was the only person who could bring a smile on her face. Chapter 15. With Shizune. Since she was a little older than Naruto, she loved the chance to sleep in. In truth, Shizune didn't mind waking up early, but she would prefer if she could, just to get some extra hours sleep whenever possible. One of the habits that the woman had developed during her time running from debt collectors with her sensei was the routine chakra pulse to see who was nearby. Thanks to last night's meeting, she knew the distinctive signature that was Naruto Uzumaki's chakra signal. Expecting to find that in the room beside her, Shizune was proved wrong as it was nowhere near to be found. Worrying that something might have happened to the boy who so bravely fought against her master, Shizune this time used a much larger amount of chakra to sense the boy's location. This extra amount of chakra did nothing to calm the nerves of Shizune. In fact, the only thing that it did was make her even more worried for the blonde-haired boy. She could not sense him anywhere nearby. Panicking as she had no idea where Naruto could be or more for that matter why he was up so early without asking for any permission, Shizune took a couple of seconds to think of the most logical solution to this mess. In the end, the medical ninja decided that she should go to Jiraiya-sama as he was the person who was in charge of the boy. He would have the best idea of where Naruto might be, or he might know of a sensory technique that would help out finding Naruto. Getting dressed as quickly as possible, Shizune headed out to the hotel room that she had originally intended to stay at before Jiraiya-sama insisted that she take care of Naruto for the night. Before she closed the door behind her, the medic quickly grabbed a banana on the way so as to curb her hunger. Like most hotels, the one that Jiraiya and Tsunade were staying at was one that had 3 sets of keys. One was for the hotel chain itself so that the rooms could be cleaned when the guests were away. The other 2 were for the clientele. As always, Shizune had 1 set of keys while Tsunade had the other set. With this, the medic, in her haste, forgot to knock on the door and see whether or not her master and Jiraiya were awake. They were not, which was not that surprising to Shizune as she knew that Tsunade-sama was definitely a late-night person rather than an early-morning person, a direct contrast to herself. Walking into the room after having opened the door, Shizune saw a sight that made her absolutely giddy inside. Unable to contain her excitement as it would implode greatly if she did not speak, Shizune couldn't help but let out a "Nawu." Rolling up the sleeve of her kimono on her right arm, the 28-year-old woman placed her left hand on her right wrist. Unsealing the contents of a small, temporary storage seal, Shizune pulled out her camera. Right in front of her, with the duna covers bunched around her waist, was Tsunade lying on the stomach of her lifelong friend and teammate Jiraiya. Tsunade was in the cutest flannelette pink flower panamas in the eyes of Shizune. The blonde-haired woman also had her hair out of her normal pigtails and let it frame her face. If all that wasn't bad enough for when Tsunade woke up, then the fact that she had both of her arms wrapped around the torso of her teammate would embarrass her to no end. That, coupled with the fact that she had the biggest smile on her face that Shizune had seen in a long time, made the situation all the sweeter. Tsunade was not the only one to blame for this sappy moment, as Jiraiya had one of his hands on the Tsunade's back. The other one was firmly pressed against the back of her sensei's head, which rested on Jiraiya's broad chest. Not being able to take it any longer, Shizune quickly started taking photos of Jiraiya and Tsunade from different angles. Unaware of this, Tsunade was happy because whatever was causing that beyond goddamn irritating light was now gone. With that being said, the 50-year-old woman went back to snuggling in bed. The pillow was very comfortable and surprisingly warm. Her mind slowly concluded that pillows weren't as hard and generally weren't as warm as what this one was. Opening her eyes, Tsunade was in for a surprise. Pillows at hotels were pretty much always white. This one, however, was a dark shade of green with a little bit of black on it. Realizing that this wasn't right, Tsunade fully opened her eyes as she pushed down on what she was lying on with both hands. Said movement made a groan come from her pillow. Noises were definitely not something that came from anything in the bedroom unless it was another person. Understanding the situation that she now found herself in just a little bit better, Tsunade hoped that when she got insanely plastered, she was at least well enough to have not allowed a man to touch her body in an intimate way. Before she could properly come to that decision, Tsunade felt a throbbing pain in her chest. Cursing internally as she couldn't remember what had caused her to suffer in such pain, the blonde-haired lady opened the first 2 buttons in her flannelette pajamas open so that she could see the wound. There was a sigh of relief from the lady as when she opened her shirt up, she saw that there was medical gauze tape covering her breasts. This gave more confidence to Tsunade in the fact that she did not think that she had sex last night. Remembering what she initially planned on doing, Tsunade looked down at the pillow beneath her, and she could only gasp in horror at what lay before her. There was her bloody perverted teammate Jiraiya. What made it even worse was the fact that he was enjoying it very much, judging by the smile on his face. The shock that came from this was enough to widen the eyes of Tsunade to comical proportions. Falling back as she couldn't believe what she had just woken up to, the buxom blonde fell back on her arse. This certainly did not help matters as there was something rather hard poking into her inner thigh. Instantly knowing what it was despite the fact that she wanted to deny it as much as possible, Tsunade couldn't help but blush in embarrassment due to the situation she was in. The Senju heir honestly had no idea whatsoever in what she was supposed to do next. Admittedly, Her first thought was to start chucking fists at her teammate. That though was a bit unfair as Jiraiya wasn't doing anything perverted and he was still asleep. Plus, she deep down knew that this was just as much her own fault as it was his. Shizune couldn't hold it in any longer. She couldn't hold back the massive smile brewing on her face along with a squeal of happiness. Immediately turning around to see where the noise had come from, Tsunade couldn't help but groan as soon as her eyes lay on their target. This was definitely something that the girl was going to let go. There was no possible bribe that she could use to get Shizune to never mention what she had just seen. "This is so cute, Tsunade-sama," the black-haired lady said as she albeit for now forgot her reason for coming over. Still not being able to figure a way out of the predicament that she found herself in, the only thing that the blonde-haired lady could do was stare blankly at her assistant. It was then that there was a groan coming from beneath her. Looking down, Tsunade could see that her teammate was about to wake up. If there was something that she didn't want to happen, then it was definitely Jiraiya finding about this. For the life of her, the middle-aged woman couldn't get up. A part of Jiraiya that had a mind of its own was getting bigger and thus moving on the leg of Tsunade. The tickle was enough to prevent her from getting up as she was indecisive of whether to move herself or the offending object. "Well, I don't think I could have a better way to wake up in the morning, except for Shizune not being here and you not being clothed." The only loyal Sannin left stated with that infuriating smirk on his face that Tsunade hated so much. Blushing at the implications that the silver-haired man had just said, Shizune could only turn away and blush as in her mind was the picture of her sensei, and Jiraiya going at it. Tsunade, though, had a totally different reaction. At the start she thought that she was going to let her teammate off the hook as long as he pretended that it never happened. That idea was now well and truly flung out the window as Tsunade decided that Jiraiya deserved more than that and not in a good way. Without the application of chakra, the blonde-haired woman launched a volatile slap to the face of the man she was straddling. "Geez, after what I did for you last night, you would hope that there might be some form of thanks, but no." As this was said, Tsunade went retrospective for a moment as she wondered what Jiraiya meant as she could not remember what it was that had happened last night. It was only a few seconds later that the woman remembered how she suffered from her condition of hemophobia and how it was Jiraiya who helped her out. Now feeling guilty for what she had just done, or rather lack thereof, Tsunade didn't know what to do. Her pride wouldn't allow her to admit that she had done something wrong, especially to Jiraiya of all people. Feeling like a piece of shit for how he made the mood of the room drop so drastically, the perverted hermit sage knew that he had to lighten up the room. "But I'll let you off the hook if you stay here for a bit longer." The way in which this was said was done with leery eyes, which Tsunade knew all too well what was going on inside the mind of Jiraiya. If she was oblivious to that, then she was certainly not oblivious to the fact that Jiraiya had put one of his hands on either of her hips. Humping in disgust, Tsunade quickly got off Jiraiya and scowled with her arms covering her chest. Turning her head to her student, Tsunade initiated a conversation with the woman. "So why did you come here so early in the morning, Shizune? You know that I am never an early morning person." There was a slight hint of annoyance coming from Tsunade when she said this. Eyes widening to large proportions, Shizune remembered what it was that she had come here in the first place for. That was the fact that Naruto had gone missing, and she had no idea if there was anything wrong with him. "Naruto and Ino have gone missing!" the black-haired woman exclaimed with shock as she was slightly fearful of what Jiraiya-sama might do. He had instructed for her to take care of the genin. Instantly the veteran shinobi that was Jiraiya instantly changed into his deadly serious persona. The change was one that did not go past the watchful eyes of Tsunade. It was obvious to her that Jiraiya either deeply cared or had a large amount of interest in the boy. What neither of the two females in the room knew though was that internally, Jiraiya was shooting bricks. They did not know about the Akatsuki that were searching for Naruto so that they could get the Kyuubi out of him. They didn't know that the Akatsuki had such members like Orochimaru and Itachi Uchiha associated with them. "Speak now and speak fast, Shizune." The commanding aura that the shinobi displayed was enough to even get Tsunade to start feeling a little nervous. From what she had remembered of the night before, the damn Gaki could hold his own. What the hell was it that was making Jiraiya so damn paranoid? Let it be known that Tsunade was someone who hated not knowing what was going on. Her inner gossip Munder was coming out to show. "There was no trace or any sign of forced entry into the hotel room, Jiraiya-sama. I tried sending out a chakra pulse to find out where he was, but I could not find him. Since Tantan was with you two last night, I couldn't use her nose to track down Naruto's scent," Shizune said in quite a fast pace before taking a long breath at the end of her explanation as to the whereabouts of Naruto. The plan was instantly formed inside the head of Jiraiya as he knew what he had to do. The silver-haired man also knew that both Tsunade and Shizune might not like him for what he was about to do, but he honestly didn't care. The medical ninja let loose that the pig in the room had a good sense of smell. Searching the room in a very short amount of time, Jiraiya found the in-demand animal and picked it up. This was something that woke up the pig and Taunton. A squeal was the noise that was coming from the pig, as it definitely did not like being waken up so brazenly. "If you don't direct me to the little kids that you met last night, Piglet, then I am going to be having bacon for breakfast." Being able to understand the threat thanks to hanging around Tsunade for so long, Taunton backed down. The only thing that the pig did was look in the direction of Shizune for some support. Shizune herself wasn't willing to go up against one of the Sannin when they had set their mind to something. That was especially true when it wasn't Tsunade. In truth, there was only one thing that she could do to get Jiraiya-sama to put Taunton-chan down on the ground. "Don't bother trying anything. After all of the things that I have done for you, Haim, this can be part of you paying me back." With that said, Jiraiya took off faster than Tsunade remembered him being able to. Oblivious to everything that was going on around him concerning his whereabouts, Naruto and Ino were training. Naruto, for his part, was practicing his one-handed ninjutsu. The blonde-haired boy was happy as he had found out a breakthrough in his training. Naruto was now finally able to do one-handed hand seals. Of course, the Uzumaki air was only in the beginning stages, but he could now perform the most minor jutsus with only one hand. It was only a matter of time until Naruto would be able to use any jutsu two-handed, one-handed. Not to be outdone, Ino had managed to realize what Jiraiya had meant when he said to turn it into an offensive jutsu. The trick was keeping the hair hard after it left your body. Thanks to all her previous training with hair-based ninjutsu, this came fairly quickly. Taking a short break, Naruto rested up against one of the trees inside the clearing that he had found. It was during this time that there was a rustling of the leaves in the area. Turning his head in the direction of the noise, Naruto did not have to wait long until he saw the incoming visage of his sensei. For some strange reason, Jiraiya was carrying a pig in his hands. A mere half-second later and Naruto saw that it was the same pig that had been accompanying Shizune the day before. The Uzumaki genin could only wonder as to why his sensei was moving at such a fast pace towards him. Not a moment later and the famed Toad Sannin was standing right beside him. The first thing that Naruto noticed was the fact that the usually smiling and happy expressions on the face of his sensei were long gone. Naruto wondered what it was that he had done to annoy his sensei so much to put him in a bad mood. Jiraiya was never one to get angry or serious over absolutely everything. "Naruto, don't run off like that without telling someone where you are going." The direct tone of voice made Naruto instantly feel as if he was going to have a lecture. He really only had them with Iruka on occasions and even less with the Hokage. Honestly, he didn't see anything wrong with what he did, and it wasn't as if he was some completely helpless little kid. Plus, he had been used to living by himself. Ino too was curious as to what got Jiraiya's panties all up in a bunch. Seeing the looks on their faces, Jiraiya graced them with information. "I have caught wind of a group of ninjas called the Akatsuki. It is a group of 9 S-ranked missing ninjas and their goal is to capture Jinchuriki and extract the demon inside, killing the host," Jiraiya bluntly stated, letting it sink into the minds of Naruto and Ino as he wanted to make sure that the boy perfectly understood just how serious of a situation this was. "Well, that sucks. That's all you have to say?" Ino loudly questioned, emotion entering her voice. "Are we ignoring the fact that you have 9 S-ranked and I repeat S-ranked ninjas after your head?" Naruto turned back to Ino. "It's not the worst thing to happen to me. At least this way I have a say and a chance to fight. Everything else that's happened I have had no control over. Plus, we planned on getting to S-rank anyway, right? We just have to get there that little bit quicker," Naruto said with his trademark grin on his face. It was infectious as Ino returned the grin of her boyfriend. "Damn right we will." Hearing that Naruto didn't think the Akatsuki was all that bad, really drove the point home to Jiraiya how much he had missed out on. Quick to take charge, Ino turned to Jiraiya, impressing Shizune and even Tsunade to a lesser extent. "Looks like she is a leader. Do you know who any of the members of this group are? That way I can study who they are and what skills they have. We'll need to be as prepared as is possible when it comes time to fight them." "We?" Naruto questioned, although he was fairly confident he knew the answer. Turning back around to her boyfriend. "As if you would think I'd ever let my boyfriend face anything, let alone 9 S-ranked ninjas alone. Get it through your thick head, we're in this together." Just shy of literal tears were coming down the face of Jiraiya as he watched the interaction with Naruto and Ino. That girl is really good for him. As time went on and Tsunade looked at the girl, she saw a mini version of herself. The way she cared about those close to her, and wasn't afraid to speak her mind to anyone. She's going to be someone special in a couple of years. "Thank you," Naruto called out as he leapt and gave Ino a hug. It was at this time that Tsunade saw the touching sight of Naruto and Ino hugging each other. It almost made the woman go, "Aw," but such an action was unbecoming of the world's biggest tsundere. Shizune had no problem whatsoever in sighing in content at the touching scene in front of her. The black-haired lady even went as far as to unseal the camera in her hand and take a photo of the scene unfolding in front of her eyes. It made Tsunade curious and apprehensive of the fact that there was the possibility that Shizune had pictures of other incidents. Now come on down, you two. We need to properly introduce one another before we go and have some breakfast, my treat, Jiraiya stated in a jovial and not as serious tone as possible as he tried to break most of the ice. There was the definite possibility that there was going to be a substantial amount of tension going on between Tsunade and Naruto. Hearing what his sensei had just said, Naruto turned over to look at the two people looking at him. When he saw the worried look on the face of Shizune, Naruto did admit to himself that he felt guilty for worrying the lady. Just because her sensei was the biggest bitch he had ever met, there was no reason to prejudge Shizune because of that. In fact, from what he remembered yesterday, she seemed quite nice. When the two women jumped down from their tree branch, the tension inside the clearing only increased as there was less distance between the two. Naruto made the first move for opening a conversation between the four of them. Jiraiya said that you were worried about me this morning. I'm sorry, and should I have left a note letting you know where I was? Naruto said with a partial sheepish look on his face. Smiling as she rested a hand on his shoulder, Shizune spoke up. That's okay, Naruto-kun, you just had me worried. In the back of her mind though, Shizune knew that she was going to get mercilessly teased by her sensei later on. It would no doubt go along the lines about her being too much of a worrywart. After the black-haired lady took her hand off of Naruto's shoulder, Tsunade started speaking. Just to let you know, kid, you wouldn't have beaten me last night if I was taking it seriously. There's no way that a genin like you could beat a chunin, let alone one of the sannin like me. The aura of self-confidence that portrayed from the woman was so big that Naruto just believed it to be pure arrogance. He had seen nothing in the fight between the two of them to warrant that Tsunade was anything special. She might have had that special ability in the past, but she was a washed-up old has-been from what he had seen. Pfft. You didn't show anything that justified you being a special jonin, let alone being one of the sannin. That was right up until the point where Tsunade moved at her fastest pace possible and unleashed a powerful punch right into the solar plexus of Naruto. At least physically, right at the very last second, Naruto morphed into her younger brother, but it was too late for the punch to be cancelled. Naruto was wheezing on the ground trying to catch his breath as he was in a world of pain. Struggling to open his eyes, he barely saw Ino being held up by her clothes by Tsunade, who was furious. Don't you ever think of doing that again, or I'll turn your head into paste right in front of an Oichi girl. To think she could cast a one-seal, one-hand genjutsu in such a short space of time. You are a million years too young to be at my level, Gaki. And with that said, Tsunade dropped the girl back down. Begrudgingly, she at least respected the effort that Ino went to humphed and walked back to where Jiraiya and Shizune. That was only at 60% power. Piss me off enough and find out what your arm looks like when it's on the ground and not connected to your body, Tsunade said without bothering to turn back and look at the boy who was now on his haunches instead of being face first into the ground. Naruto was wide-eyed. That punch was a real eye-opener. The small increase in ego that was developing was now brought back down to earth. Naruto now realized that there was just as much of a gap between Naruto and the top shinobi of the world. He had thought that the gap was quickly closing after his training from both Manda and more recently Jiraiya, but it was apparent that Naruto had a long way to go to where he needed to be. With a shot glass of sake in his hand, Jiraiya brought up a topic that needed to be discussed. I know that you had a meeting with Orochimaru Tsunade. Even if we didn't get to speak much about it yesterday, I could see it instantly from the way how Shizune reacted. Despite trying to not act like she was surprised, Tsunade couldn't help but take a lot longer to swallow the sake in her mouth. The blonde-haired woman instantly knew that this was going to be a conversation that she wasn't going to like. Yeah, so what? Tsunade replied in an offhand manner. With a neutral expression on his face, Jiraiya stared directly at his former teammate. What did he want with you? He and I just had a little chat about some recent injuries that he had sustained. Again, this was said in a tone of voice by Tsunade that clearly displayed the fact that she did not want to talk about it. Seeing all of the signals that his former teammate was putting out did not deter Jiraiya one bit. In fact, it only served to further his determination for this conversation. If there were things that Tsunade didn't want for him to hear, then they were obviously things that he needed to hear. Don't make a hasty decision, Tsunade. I know you and I know Orochimaru better than anyone else. I know he would have offered you something too good to be true. I also know that you would seriously consider doing it, despite knowing that there can be nothing good that comes from the man who betrayed us and your grandfather. There is one thing that I want to make clear though, Tsunade. If you do anything that betrays the Hidden Leaf Village, then make no mistake, I will kill you. Affronted, Tsunade got a little bit more anger into her voice as she replied. It has nothing to do with me. Only a psychopath would show no feelings knowing people close to them are dead. You're not like that, are you? The open-aired question from the silver-haired man was one that hit closer to home than Tsunade chose to admit. Stop lecturing me already! Now why did you bring those little brats with you? Even for you, that's a low blow. The moment that Tsunade said this, she took a swig from her cup of sake. Visibly annoyed with what had just been said to him, Jiraiya responded in a way that he hardly ever used to Tsunade. Bitch please, I was heaps closer to Minato than you ever were, and that's including the fact that you were related by blood. I go through more pain each time I see him every day than you ever will. The serious look on the face of Jiraiya was one that Tsunade couldn't help but flinch at. It wasn't so much what Jiraiya had said, it was what he didn't say that hurt her even more. She knew that she should have been there for Kushina's son. Like Jiraiya said, she wasn't that close to her previous last remaining family member, but that was no excuse when there was an orphan family member out there, especially since they were a young kid. He seems like a good young kid, quite like Minato in terms of personality, almost as good a shinobi as he was at that age too, Tsunade said as she wanted to change the conversation from where it was. It was at an awkward topic that she wanted to pretend never happened. If you think he is good now, you should have seen what he was like 6 months ago. According to Kakashi, he was the spitting image of his mother and was the dead last of his class. Evidently by the expression on the face of his former teammate, Tsunade couldn't believe what she had just heard. It was impossible to think that half a year ago that the kid was just like Kushina in terms of personality. What was even harder to believe was the fact that Jiraiya said that Naruto was the dead last of his class. There was no fucking way that could possibly be true. She had seen him in action, and she knew that the kid was a prodigy. There was no way that Naruto was dead last of his class. It was impossible that every other kid in his year were better than him. How? He signed the snake summoning contract. Out of all the answers Jiraiya could have given, that was not the one Tsunade expected nor wanted to hear. What? Yeah, kid signed the contract after apparently a shitty day. A snake came up to him, told him what they needed to see in him before he could sign the contract, and then he started working on it. The brat was so desperate for a family he thought that was the only way he was ever going to see one. Whilst it was true, it didn't hurt Tsunade's heart any less. I should have spent more time with him, and the worst part is that he knows. He knows our clans are related. Don't beat yourself up by it, Tsunade. If anyone should have been there for him, it was me. I am his godfather, his naming father, and I viewed Minato like was a son. In Japan, godfather means naming father, but there are no legal obligations to look after a child if the parents die. Jiraiya frowned, hating himself for his inaction. He could think of a million reasons why, but in the end they were just excuses he told himself to sleep at night. Wow. What does this mean for Orochimaru? Do they have a connection? The worst possible thoughts were running through the mind of Tsunade. A QB-powered Orochimaru was the fuel for nightmares. Nah, I sealed his chakra before talking to him. Turns out Manda and the rest of the clan hate him as much as we do. They reckon he has tarnished their reputation and want Naruto to kill him and restore the pride to the clan's name. A sigh of relief and the sagging of Tsunade's shoulders showed her thoughts on the answer Jiraiya gave. To think they believe that Naruto can kill Orochimaru, Tsunade murmured. Out of the three of them, the snake Sannin was considered the strongest. Out of anyone in the younger generations, give it a couple of years and I reckon he could. Before Tsunade could go any deeper into her thoughts about Naruto, it was the voice of her former teammate that brought her back to drunken reality. You know, it'd be really great if Naruto had a female role model in his life. You really think so? He's that good? She couldn't help but question. Jiraiya ran a hand through his hair before taking a sip of his sake. You should have seen it, Nade. He was using 2 taels worth of the Kyuubi's chakra up against a fully transformed Shikaku. Up until the full transformation, Naruto was controlling the fight on his own. It was only when Shikaku took over his host that Naruto summoned Manda. Wide eyes was what Jiraiya got in return. He is never going to be a finesse fighter despite being a Snake Clan member, but he doesn't need to. That kid is the closest thing to the stories of the third Raikage and your grandfather I have seen. The brat can create an entire army of shadow clones. Plus, he doesn't need to be the finesse ninja, especially not when he has that spunky little girlfriend of his Tsunade. At the mentioning of Ino, Tsunade was reminded of how quick she managed to cast that genjutsu. It was low level, but it was still highly impressive. Wherever Naruto is going in life, she is going to be right there beside him on her own merit. It wouldn't surprise me if she was at least an A-rank assassin in 3 years. Now that genjutsu she cast was impressive, but she's not that good, is she? Think about it, Tsunade. She is a combat-focused Yamanaka with genjutsu, her clan ninjutsu and skill in kenjutsu. She's also trying to dabble in using chakra to enhance her speed. Where does that lead? If she gets everything firing together, that's a terrifying combo. That's not even the worst bit. She blackmailed me. Now when Jiraiya said this, Tsunade paused. How did a genin do that? We were talking about how she wanted to learn about my spy network, and I asked what would happen if she got caught behind enemy lines. Jiraiya mentioned, still not entirely sure how to read the situation that happened. She then goes, Naruto would come and save me. He would go to just about releasing the Kyuubi on whoever it was that captured me. Jiraiya paused, allowing that to sink in. She was flexing that she is that close to the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, that he would abandon Konoha at any time to come and save her, no matter what. He would even kill himself just to save her. The irony being that Jiraiya would do the exact same for Tsunade. This was all news to Tsunade. Up until this conversation, she had made no mention that she knew that Naruto was the Jinchuriki nor mentioned that Naruto knew that she knew. She could be manipulating him for fuck's sake. Getting into his head with all those Yamanaka jutsus. From the outside looking in, Tsunade wasn't sure. That's a bit of a reach, saying another genin is controlling Naruto's mind. I think Jiraiya is just paranoid because Naruto is so enraptured with her, that she has this much power over him. Unaware of what was going on with Tsunade, Jiraiya kept talking. He needed to vent. So I pressed her on that, asked whether or not she was dating Naruto for the power that he holds. At this point Jiraiya clenched his fists. She turned it back on me. Tsunade was eager to hear how. She first answers my question by saying no, that she would do the same thing. Then, she questions why all of a sudden I am not in Naruto's life. Is it because the Sandaime died and Naruto needs a new role model figure in Konoha to keep him connected to the village? Or whether or not I'm monitoring him in case he turns into the next Orochimaru, and then I kill him before that can happen. She was basically questioning me on whether or not me spending time around Naruto is genuine. A genin. Questioning a Sannin. Is it? All Tsunade could ask. Based on the fact Jiraiya had not been in Naruto's life for 13 years, there was a lot that was open for interpretation. It is. Jiraiya roared, offended that Tsunade would even question it. I just can't say it is because then I have to reveal that I am his godfather, and then that leads to the question of why I am his godfather, then I'll have to explain who his parents are. I don't think he's ready for it. She had known Jiraiya for a long time. Longer than anyone else. They went to the academy together after all. She knew when he was just projecting his feelings onto a situation. Is he not ready? Or are you not ready? She questioned. Him. Jiraiya said quickly. Too quickly. I don't know, me I guess. The worst part is that I don't even know my own godson well enough to be able to see if he's ready or not. He's a closed book with his emotions. To you, but it doesn't seem like he is to that girlfriend of his. Tsunade commented, having observed the dynamic between the two. And you don't like that? You want to be the person Naruto comes for advice and guidance, right? Getting a nod from Jiraiya, Tsunade continued on. You don't deserve that right. Tsunade boldly stated, getting a wince out of Jiraiya. I know I don't. As much as he knew that, hearing it from someone else he valued the opinion of hurt that much more. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't change the fact that when Naruto is looking to talk about something, he doesn't come to you, he goes to her. You've been in his life for what, almost a month? But they have only really started being friends since the exams. Jiraiya weakly stated in his defense. So what? She's his own age. He can let his guard down more around her. He doesn't have to be on alert when you've openly stated that you're watching him to make sure that he's the next Orochimaru. She mentioned, I actually give a shit about the real Naruto, not the one that Konoha wants him to be. And she's right. It seems like you all need to spend some getting to know the real Naruto, and be fucking genuine about it. Tsunade was more than happy to focus on someone else's problems rather than her own. It came in part by being a healer. In those moments talking to Jiraiya, she didn't have to think about her failures of being a cousin to Naruto, her past traumas and the vices she used to cope along with the offer from Orochimaru. During the week Shizune had come up to both Naruto and Ino while Tsunade was off getting her nails done and told them exactly what had happened with Orochimaru. The guilt was just something that the black-haired lady couldn't deal with. The main sticking point of the whole story was how Orochimaru had offered to revive the two people she cared about the most. Jiraiya then proceeded to call bullshit on this as he had seen firsthand what had happened when Orochimaru revived dead people. They had no soul and thus they were merely a husk of a person that you once knew. The widening of eyes by Shizune was enough to make it known that she was now fearing for the safety of her sensei. It was a damn trap which had no good ending if Tsunade decided to take up the snake Sannin on his offer. After a bit of time had passed, Both Shizune and Jiraiya realized that Tsunade was taking longer than normal to get back, and when they both looked at each other, they knew what was going on. The medic ninja instantly picked up Tauntaun and told the animal to direct the three of them in the direction of Tsunade. Moving in the direction of Tsunade, the quartet of ninjas fairly quickly located the slug Sannin. By the time they got to her location, they realized that it was a complete clusterfuck of broken boulders and craters littering the ground. This was no doubt of a sign that Tsunade had been in a fight very recently. It seemed as if Tsunade was tiring after all of the chakra that she had expended using her superhuman strength. Kabuto was preparing to use a kunai from his pocket to attack the woman, but before that could happen, there was a large plume of smoke from right beside the Senju Queen. "Long time no see, Jiraiya," Orochimaru said as he stared down the white-haired man with his wild-looking eyes. "What's up? Seems like you haven't changed one bit," Jiraiya stated as he too looked directly at Orochimaru, wanting to see who would give up first. It was the sight of Naruto that broke Orochimaru out of his staring competition to glare with animosity at the direction of Naruto. "So you're the one that they're going to try and replace me?" As he said this, Orochimaru couldn't help but unleash some killing intent in an attempt to threaten the boy. To his surprise though, Naruto didn't seem fazed by it. As he had a good look at the boy, Orochimaru could easily see the resemblance between this kid and the man who he absolutely abhorred for taking his title as the Yondaime Hokage. "He's Minato's brat." The moment that the recognition seeped though, Orochimaru narrowed his gaze and gave an intense stare at the blonde-haired boy. "There's been a change of plans, Kabuto. I don't care about the Akatsuki anymore, kill the boy." Nodding to say that he got the order loud and clear, Kabuto got into an offensive stance, ready and waiting for the battle to commence. Meanwhile, as this was happening, Naruto couldn't help but look on in shock at the fact as to who was standing right next to the snake Sannin. There was Kabuto, who was supposed to be a Leaf Genin, and yet here he was wearing a Sound Village headband standing next to arguably the greatest traitor in the history of Konohagakure. Connecting the dots, Naruto pieced together that Kabuto was a spy and all of that time he spent with Konoha was just an act. He knew he was right to trust that uneasy feeling when he was around the man. Unwrapping the bandages that were on his master's arms, Kabuto quickly wiped some blood on the seals so as to summon a large snake. When the snake came out from the smoke, it awaited its orders from Orochimaru with disdain. "We need you to kill that blonde-haired kid over there," Kabuto said as he pointed in the direction of Naruto. "I don't take orders from you. I only take them from members of the Hibi clan." It was then that the snake sniffed out where his intended target was just in case Orochimaru asked for him to kill the boy. Getting the whiff of a familiar smell, the snake focused in on it, and recognized it as the one of Naruto Uzumaki, their newest summoner. "I am not killing him, you should know better than that, Orochimaru," the snake hissed out with obvious distaste lacing his words. "I'll kill anyone but that boy." TCH figures, Orochimaru thought to himself. "I guess I'll just have to kill him myself." Jiraiya, still feeling the effects of the drug that Tsunade laced his drink with, struggled to summon his own animal. He didn't get Gamabunta, but he did get Gamahiro. "Good enough," Kabuto muttered as he raced forward with his orders. No longer was he moving like the fake genin everyone thought him to be, instead he was moving like the elite jonin he was. In conjunction with Kabuto's movements, the large snake made a commotion, throwing up a massive dust cloud and rocks going everywhere. It was the diversion Kabuto needed to land a punch of Shizune, who then tried to fire her Senbon at Kabuto, narrowly missing him. She followed this up with releasing poison cloud of mist. "If that is me," Kabuto thought. As this was happening, Naruto and Ino couldn't help but think one thing. This is what a battle between jonin is like. As Kabuto dodged the incoming purple cloud of smoke, he reappeared out of the ground, slicing the tendons in Shizune's ankles, causing her to drop to the floor. She was cast to the side as Tsunade could only watch on in horror. Her mind was screaming out to do something, but her body simply wouldn't move. Watching on, Ino saw just how much Tsunade suffered from her trauma. Naruto was the first to act though, racing forward with his sword in his hand. "Wind release, drilling air bullet," he called out as his left hand withdrew the seals and unleashed a potent blast of wind. Alerted to the attack, Kabuto looked left and just barely dodged the incoming swipe from Naruto's sword shrouded in wind chakra. He didn't avoid the brutal kick to the stomach, sending him back. Not letting up, Naruto leapt after Kabuto, holding his sword, ready to kill the traitor. One swipe connected and a large gash appeared on the left arm of Kabuto, with blood falling. Naruto has gotten a lot stronger. I need to take this seriously. That wind chakra is going to be a problem. Avoiding the follow-up swipe from Naruto, Kabuto retaliated via using his chakra scalpel to detach the muscle in Naruto's thigh from the bone. "Ah!" Naruto screamed as he immediately collapsed to the ground. "Naruto!" Ino screamed, racing towards her boyfriend. She went through the hand seals and casted a genjutsu on Kabuto. The Naruto in front of him, right as his chakra scalpel took out the other leg of Naruto, morphed into someone else. For a split second, Kabuto was horrified at what he had done. There in front of him was none other than his mother from the orphanage, Nono Yakushi. Quickly realizing that this was a genjutsu, Kabuto regulated his chakra, dispelling it. A sinister grin appeared on his face, looking nothing like the Kabuto she remembered. "You're going to wish you never did that, Yamanaka." "Oh yeah?" she questioned, unaware of just how strong Kabuto was. She was fueled by adrenaline. "Don't you attack my boyfriend! Oh, I am going to do far worse than that girl to you. I'm going to dissect you. Light every nerve ending on fire, making you feel pain like never before." Sounds hot. Initially thrown by the answer, Kabuto raced at a speed which he didn't expect Ino to be able to keep up with. Holding her sword in her hand and channeling chakra into her legs, her chakra-enhanced speed was the only thing that was keeping her alive at this point. Unlike before when Kabuto was attempting to cleanly win the fights with Naruto using the chakra scalpel, this time he was using a kunai. He wanted to inflict as much pain as possible. Small cut after cut appeared on Ino's body, causing her skirt to get torn to shreds. Blood was seeping down her thighs, coating the bandages. Her top half was not better as her yoga top had one sleeve sliced off, hanging by tatters on her back. Watching on in horror, Naruto could see this, but there was nothing he could do. His legs wouldn't move at all. All he could do was pull himself forward by his hands. "Be careful, Yamanaka, with genjutsu. You might want to make sure of who you're casting it on. You'll annoy the wrong people, case in point. Me!" Enraged that she had to make him see Nono again, a chakra scalpel was created and sent right through the right lung of Ino, causing her to fall down to the ground. There was no noise, no thud, just a simple collapse. Naruto could only look on in horror. There was his girlfriend who had tried to protect him, was now lying on the ground unceremoniously. Is she? No, it can't be. And oh. His heartbeat started moving faster, he could feel the beats. A rush of adrenaline and chakra fueled Naruto, healing the injuries in his thighs before a shroud and two tails immediately appeared. It was a turn of events that caused even all three of the Sannin to change their stance and posture to give their attention to Naruto. "What did you do?" Naruto questioned, and before Kabuto had time to answer, Naruto was already on him with claws instead of hands. The silver-haired man dodged the first attack, he dodged the second attack, but he didn't dodge the third attack. Naruto swiped his right hand in a palm motion, fingernails turned into claws and channeling wind chakra into them. It was devastating. He took out a chunk from Kabuto's face, leaving 4 distinct lines going from temple to cheek. "This is the Kyuubi's power, I need to get out." With a seal-less substitution, Kabuto reappeared next to his master. All this took place in a couple of seconds. Now that the enemy was gone, Naruto was left with the reality of Ino, lying there in front of him, not moving one iota. "No! Please!" Tears were streaming down his face, and he held on to Ino. "I can't lose you!" he desperately shouted, noticing that blood was coming out of her mouth. In the back of his mind, Naruto remembered that Tsunade was here, and she was the best medic to ever live. She was also in a catatonic state. By this point, Orochimaru and Kabuto had gone, not without one final look from Kabuto, vowing to exact his revenge on Naruto. As much as he tried to heal his wound, the Kyuubi's chakra made it harder than he expected. Picking up Ino as delicately as he could, Naruto rushed over to Tsunade and gently placed her body down in front of him. "Please, Tsunade, please!" Naruto begged with tears coming down his face. "She means everything to me." Naruto blubbered. She had put herself in the firing line and gotten the attention of an elite ninja to protect Naruto. No one had ever done that before. She always said she had my back, and she meant it. The adrenaline of the fight was kicking in, amplifying the emotions of the Uzumaki child, and he placed his hands on Tsunade, unknowingly channeling chakra through them, causing her to break her out of her funk. "That chakra, it is so powerful, reminds me of Grandpa." Life came back into her eyes as Tsunade surveyed her surroundings. First she saw Naruto crying, and second she saw the near lifeless Ino Yamanaka right beneath her. The memories of the fight coming back to her. She put her life on the line for Naruto, all because he has his dream of becoming the Hokage. Because she believes in him, because she loves him. With a smile on her face and finally feeling that just maybe, her hemophobia was gone, Tsunade looked down and started healing the blonde girl. "Maybe I can train one more." It was after 5 minutes of intense healing that there was a sign of life from Ino. She twitched, and a minute later, Naruto had so much joy watching her face twitch one more time before opening her eyes. Don't you ever do that again. Naruto tried to come across and assertive, but all it really showed to Ino was that he was worried and he cared. Then don't force me to have to bail you out. You're right. From this point on, I am going to be the strongest ninja ever so I can be the one that helps others. Jiraiya watching on couldn't help but smile. Chapter 16. Please, Tsunade. I beg of you, please train me in the art of medical ninjutsu. It wasn't that she was going to say no, it just that she didn't expect this question to be coming from Naruto of all people. As she thought about it, he didn't have the same chakra control that his blonde counterpart had. He didn't have the prerequisite knowledge, but what he did have was an ravenous appetite to learn and one hell of a chakra supply. She was thinking just how many people he might be able to heal with that amount of a chakra supply. Alright, fine. A bit of guilt was thrown in as she knew she probably should have been doing more for Kushina's son. That, and she could empathize of seeing someone you love on the verge of death. If we're going to start training, then you're going to need to know every single detail about the human body. Tsunade mentioned, and within a moment, there were 50 clones in front of her, ready to listen to what she had to say. Once Ino was healed and ready to go, the group of ninjas headed back to Konoha, with the intent of Tsunade to become the Hokage. As the elder ninja went off on their own to do their own thing, Ino turned to Naruto. I'm going to go home to my family, but I promise I'll come round to your place tomorrow morning, if we don't have a mission, she mentioned, knowing that Naruto had no one to go home to. Half of her mind was to ask whether or not he would want to come over for dinner, but she would have to clear that first with her parents. Yeah, I get ya, all good, Naruto said with a bit of a forced smile on his face. As much as he wanted to spend time with Ino, he knew that she wanted to spend time with her family. It just sucks that I don't have one on my own. With everything that had happened over the past month, this was going to be the first time where Naruto had time to himself. He was dreading it actually. Time to himself meant time to ponder on thoughts that he had pushed to the recesses of his mind. Paramount to his thought at the time was regarding who sealed the QB inside of him. Why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why did you seal it into your own son? Is all I am to you a pawn in your game of power? His thoughts then drifted onto those who he thought would have been there for him. Kakashi only taught me the bare minimum. In 6 months I learnt water walking, then I taught myself everything else. Sure, Jiraiya taught me sealing basics and helped me with one-handed seals, but they were things that the Snake Clan was going to teach me anyway. Look, it's the Demon Kid, now he even summons snakes now just like Orochimaru. Naruto was broken out of his reverie when he heard the whispers coming from 2 civilians. Fuck off! Naruto shouted at them, surprising the duo who thought that he would not be able to hear him. Is anything I ever do good enough? I used those skills to stop the rampaging Ichibi. What's even the point anymore of trying to save these people? Nothing I ever do will be good enough. Naruto continued walking back to his run-down apartment, not wanting to be social at all. It's cool that the last Uchiha defeated the Sand Beast. That one threw Naruto for a loop. Walking over to the 2 girls who couldn't have been older than 18 and asked them to repeat it. Yeah, didn't you hear? The dreamy Uchiha kid managed to defeat the Sand Demon. She swooned in contentment at the thought of herself and Sasuke. What the hell? Anger started piling and piling on top of Naruto. They think that he beat Gaara? No wonder everyone is calling me a snake demon. Fuck it all, Naruto whispered to himself before running back home, not wanting anyone to see the tears starting to form. There was no one there to stop the spiraling negative thoughts. Ever the restless sleeper, Naruto tossed and turned attempting to get to sleep, and it took a couple of hours. In the end he drifted off into sleep, at least he thought he would. Waking up, he found himself in a familiar sewer, one he knew all too well. What am I seeing him for this time? Naruto muttered to himself and headed down the beaten path to where the cage was. Before he could get anywhere though, he was met by someone, and they looked awfully familiar. With the memories of what he had to come home to, that being Konoha and an empty home, Naruto wasn't in the mood for seeing anyone. Who are you? Naruto rather rudely questioned. As he said it, he got a better look at the person and saw that it was like looking in a mirror. I am you. The other side of you. Dark Naruto amended after he saw the slightly confused expression on the real Naruto's face. It dawned fairly quickly on Naruto that this was the mental representation of all his negative emotions. You're me. You're all the emotions I have harboring to the village. Yes, Yami said in satisfaction. At least Naruto had grown to the point of being able to recognize his emotions. For so long you have tried to avoid your emotions. You've tried to run away from the feelings of anger, rage, and betrayal. The villagers will never accept you, you know. It's okay to feel, Naruto. You have to accept all parts of yourself. Only then you can grow. He could hear the words of Ino in the back of his mind. You're right. I have been running from my emotions. I initially put on a mask of happiness as an escape from the pain of loneliness. When I got the offer from the Snake Clan, that was merely a welcome distraction, allowing me to focus on something else rather than how I felt. Yami was shocked. He felt his power weakening. Not like this. But the villagers. They will never love you. But you are correct, I need to accept that there is this darkness inside of me. I do have anger residing in me towards Konoha. What they have done to me is not right. They don't deserve me trying to gain their approval. With that final line, Yami started turning black and disappearing with a smile on his face. Before he left, he gave Naruto a big hug. A weight was lifted off of the shoulders of Naruto Uzumaki, finally confronting the negative thoughts he had about Konoha and realizing that they were valid. Naruto found himself on top of the roof of the hospital. He didn't know why he was bowing down to the demands of his teammate, but a part inside of him was glad to test himself against Sasuke. The fight was going well as far as Naruto was concerned. Sasuke is using his Sharingan, and I can keep up the pace. And I'm not using clones. Sure, he was on the defense, but Naruto hadn't really put much effort into his taijutsu recently. As Naruto was getting more and more confident in the battle, Sasuke was getting more and more frustrated. He's catching up. To Sasuke, it showed just how far he had to go if he wanted to defeat Itachi, when Naruto had closed the gap. And he's not even using that red chakra I heard about. Upping the ante, Sasuke was the first one to escalate to elemental ninjutsu, jumping up in the air and released a fireball down at Naruto. Wind release, pressure damage! Naruto shouted as he jumped to the side, aiming the jutsu at the incoming fireball and launched it up in the air using the oxygen as a fuel source. Standing on top of the watering tower, Naruto watched as the grim reality of the situation occurred to him. There in front of him was Sasuke Uchiha, channeling chakra into his hand to form the familiar jutsu of Kakashi Hatake, the Chidori. That's how he wants to play it. I see how it is. Should I have expected anything different? Sasuke was always selfish. Pulling his sword out of the top of his sheath, Naruto channeled wind chakra into the blade. The two rushed towards each other. A blur came out of nowhere and grabbed the respective hands of Naruto and Sasuke, flinging them far apart from one another. You went a bit too far for just a fight, you two. Seeing the two still reeling from being flung into the respective water towers, Sasuke's whole hand was in the metal whereas Naruto's was down to the hilt of his blade. Ignoring the question, Sasuke jumped down off the tower, leaving Naruto to deal with his sensei. Naruto, were you going to kill Sasuke? You need to be careful with wind chakra. It is very dangerous. Kakashi questioned before going into lecture mode. Still prickly about what had happened and this being the first time he had seen his team since the exams, Naruto was feeling a bit defensive. Don't you think that was a bit hypocritical, Kakashi, since you taught Sasuke an assassination jutsu designed to kill people? Shocked at the way Naruto was talking back to him, he got the impression that there was something else going on, removing himself from blame in the process. Naruto! Don't talk to our sensei like that. He taught that to Sasuke so he could protect himself. Against Gaara. Sakura jumped into her crush's defense. Fuck off, Sakura! Well, what did he teach me to defend myself against Gaara? Naruto turned his attention back to Sakura, annoyed that she was jumping into the conversation when she had no relevance. Kakashi widened his eyes as he saw what the issue was. I guess now is as good of a time for him to learn the Rasengan. I can teach him that. Naruto, don't talk to Sakura like that. Sakura, I'm fine, I can handle it. Hiei smiled, trying to defuse the situation. Naruto has really changed. The old him never would have spoken to Sakura like that. Why did I even bother coming up here? Team 7 was never really a team for me. This is bullshit. I'm over this. Don't expect me to be on this team for long. Naruto, frustrated, alluded to. Before anyone could speak, he used the body flicker to merely leave a trail of leaves behind him. Naruto! Sakura yelled out, not out of anger, but fear. Her world was crumbling. Sasuke was becoming more and more mean whilst Naruto screamed at her. Team 7 is supposed to be a team. Kakashi was the most horrified though. All I ever wanted was for Team 7, was to be a team. Sasuke and Naruto were supposed to be friends, not enemies. Maybe I wasn't fit to be sensei after all. Waking up first thing in the morning, Ino received an order for a summons to the Hokage Tower. As she got there, she saw her boyfriend trailing behind. Hey Naruto, I didn't think they normally get couples to go on missions. She hurriedly whispered, although she was excited to go on another mission together. I dunno, what if this is us finally getting our vests? Notably in reference to the Chunin exams that went past where they both put in good performances. One can only hope. I bet they'll say something like because the exams got cancelled, they aren't promoting anyone. Walking in the room, they saw Tsunade sitting at her desk. We got word that last night, Sasuke Uchiha left the village. Shock filled the faces of Naruto Uzumaki and Ino Yamanaka. This will be your first mission as Chunin. As Tsunade mentioned this, the blonde couple caught their respective scrolls. Naruto gave a smirk to Ino, who promptly ignored it. Now normally I wouldn't be sending you two together, but we are so undermanned it's not funny. Rally up 3 others and go as soon as possible. We believe he has gone to Orochimaru. Also Ino, you are in charge on this mission. Dead or alive? Naruto questioned, wondering if he was going to have to fight differently. Surprised that Naruto would even ask that question, she responded. Alive. The two of them left the room shortly thereafter. You get Neji and Kiba, I'll get Shikamaru. After seeing the performance of Shikamaru during the finals, Naruto wasn't convinced but let it slide. If Ino trusts him, then I trust him. Got it. Meet back at the gates in half an hour. As the 5 ninjas waited at the front of the gate, making sure that they had their tools, Naruto saw out of the corner of his eye Sakura standing at the gate crying. Sighing, Naruto walked over to her. Please, you have to bring Sasuke back, she said with tears freely forming down her face. Her head hung low. That's what we are assigned to the mission for, Naruto replied, distinctly not making any commitments in bringing Sasuke back. If he didn't, he was sure he was going to hear about it. As he was preparing to leave, Ino was the one who came over. Feelings of jealousy rose up in her, seeing Naruto hanging out with his crush from way back when. She didn't doubt that he liked her now, it was just that she didn't like the hold Sakura used to have, not when she didn't deserve it. Naruto, we better get going? She mentioned, not even looking at Sakura. They hadn't been friends for a long time and time hadn't been kind to them. She hasn't changed at all. Yep, coming Ino-chan. I remember when he was like that with me, Sakura wistfully said, for once missing Naruto now that Sasuke was gone. You should have seen what was right in front of you. Ignoring the jibe as she knew that there was something going on between the two blondes, Sakura looked at her former best friend. Promise me you'll bring Sasuke back. Ino for her part merely rolled her eyes and didn't bother answering the question, leaving Sakura there as she previously was. Alone. So Shika, what would be the plan you would use in this situation? Ino questioned. It wasn't her job to think of the best strategy, it was her job to use the resources available to her to complete the mission as best as she could. As they left the village in the direction which they had received a report on, Neji used his clan's eyes and found where they were located. The problem though was that Kidamaru had spider threads all throughout the forests, and when Shikamaru, unaware of his enemy's abilities, he triggered the warning for the Sound 4. Before they could come up with a plan, there were multiple explosive notes tied to a kunai, and it was right beside Shikamaru's head. Baiting just like Shikamaru planned, they found themselves in a giant dome created by Jirobo. Ha ha ha, you scum won't be getting out of this. My dome sucks the chakra out of you. Ever so confident. That was because he hadn't come up against Naruto Uzumaki. Leave this one to me. Kiba, get ready to strike after my jutsu. Channeling a significant amount of chakra, Naruto released his strongest jutsu. Wind release, pressure damage. Sure, some of the chakra was drained, but the payout was worth it as Naruto released devastating gusts of wind that took out chunks of the dome. It also cut all of the other rocks where Naruto aimed it. Kiba was straight behind with his trademark jutsu and took down the remaining broken rocks, causing the dome to break. What they were left with was Jirobo by himself. Obviously trying to stall to get Sasuke in that barrel across to the Sound Village. Naruto thought to himself. Go! We can't afford to lose ground and fail this mission, Ino called out. Leave this girl with me and I'll come join you shortly. But Ino, we shouldn't abandon our comrades. This wasn't about comrades though. Naruto had a conflict of interest on this mission. Go! She shouted, this time directly looking Naruto in the eyes. I got this. Trust me, she said, channeling her clan jutsu. With a nod, Naruto turned back around and headed with the group to find Sasuke. As Naruto was the only other Chunin on the mission, by default mission leader, giving a directive to the rest of his team, he couldn't help but look back with worry before heading off himself. Your fight is with me, Tubby. I bet you don't even take your shirt off when you shower, do you? Ino questioned, and she was greeted with her enemy allowing his cursed Teal level 1 takeover. Cracking his knuckles with fury, Jirobo replied. I was going to finish you off quickly to put you out of your misery. But now I'm going to take my time, bitch. Is that supposed to an insult? Of course I am a bitch. And here I thought you would have thick skin. Guess not. Ino replied, wiping her nails on her top, not even giving her enemy the time of day. That was all it took for the first stage of the curse mark to come out on display. Oh, so you're one of those. A real man would use his own strength. God, men are so easy. That's the same thing Sasuke has. I'll show you what a real man can do, Jirobo called out, sprinting as fast as he could. Shit! I didn't think someone this big could move this fast. Hair Needle Saban! She shouted, using her newest jutsu whilst jumping back with enhanced chakra speed to increase the distance. She watched in frustration as the Saban for the most part bounced off of Jirobo as he continued to charge at her. Ino didn't like getting hit, in fact she hated it. Naruto's the tank, not me. Note to self, don't take hits, just dodge. Pulling out her sword, Ino ducked under the punch and lunged forward with her enhanced speed, going even faster than before. Ending up on the other side of Jirobo, Ino grinned in satisfaction when her blade dripped blood. She didn't need to look back and see the substantial cut from her enemy's hip to the middle of his back, and she was highly confident the sound ninja was unaware of the genjutsu seal her hand was in. Ah! Jirobo screamed, not at all pleased with how the fight was going. I can't believe this bitch is forcing me to go to the second stage. Jumping back and putting distance between the two, Ino watched in horror as her enemy's face turned red and he got warts all over his body. That's disgusting. Jirobo came rushing out, this time with speed that surprised Ino. If she wanted to dodge his attacks, she would have to use her chakra speed to the max, dodging to the left. Ino let out a retaliatory swipe with her blade against the exposed knuckles. Ah! He screamed, only further serving to make him more angry. Trying that little bit harder, he shocked Ino with a burst of speed, getting inside her guard and punched her in the face, sending the Yamanaka hurtling towards the ground. She skidded across the ground dazed and confused, struggling to get her bearings. Jirobo came up and grabbed her by throat and held her high in the air. Any last words, bitch? Yeah, good night, fatty. As she said this, her free hand went into a seal familiar to her clan and released the mind-body switch technique. There was no chance for Jirobo to dodge. Ino caught her own body immediately and gently rested on the ground before getting explosive tags out of her pouch. Taking her enemy's body 15 meters away, she laid down 5 explosive tags, aimed at each limb. The second she returned to her body, she triggered the explosive notes. It was not pretty. Blood went everywhere, and for a couple of seconds she heard Jirobo screaming in agony. It was either me or him, was what she told herself. She struggled to tell herself, walking up to the body, grimacing as she saw the remains. A couple of limbs were severed and organs were loosely hanging inside the body. It would be a memory seared into her brain forever. It was her first kill after all. I need to catch up to the others. So this is really how it's going to be, Sasuke? Naruto questioned without a judgmental tone. He could empathize easily. Too easily. The idea of wanting to leave the village that had caused him so much pain. I'm done with all you fools from the Leaf Village. Go home. Sasuke responded, and as he turned around, Naruto saw the tattoo markings covering his face, also with eye changing complete color. This must be that curse seal again. Grabbing his sword out of its sheath, Naruto wasn't willing to take any chances. Despite this, Sasuke managed to slip in the guard of Naruto and then punched him. Hard. Naruto started coughing up blood, barely managing to hold his sword before tumbling into the water. Not only does that curse seal increase speed, it makes him stronger too. Taking stock of the situation, Naruto pulled himself back up to the surface of the lake and jumped straight back to capture Sasuke. Yet again, Sasuke was slightly too fast, although this time Naruto managed to graze the side of Sasuke's leg with his blade. Following up, Sasuke quickly threw his shuriken tied to ninja wire, attempting to trap Naruto, being the rock he was currently falling towards. Pulling it tight, Naruto found himself trapped against the rock, facing an incoming ball of fire. He's really going for it. Those punches are his full strength. Naruto thought to himself, feeling the pain done to his ribs. Using wind chakra, Naruto cut the wires and fired off a gust of wind, pushing the fireball back in the path of Sasuke. Wind release, Fist of the Wind Snake. A condensed, pressurized face of a snake came hurtling through the air at Sasuke, having never seen anything before like it. Using it to his advantage, Naruto latched onto his opportunity, smashing his foot into Sasuke's stomach, causing him to fold over. Naruto brought both hands to the blade, slamming the bottom of his sword to the back of Sasuke's head, clobbering him in the process, and sending him rocketing towards the water. This is the power of the curse seal. It's a bit disappointing, if I must say, Naruto called out, jumping down on top of the water as Sasuke pulled himself up. I'll show you power, loser! Now show me that red chakra! Sasuke shouted, channeling a Chidori. Holding his sword with both hands, Naruto channeled an obscene amount of wind chakra through the blade, seeing it come off of weapon with ease. Let's the type affinity works in my favor. They each charged in, holding their own jutsu, confident that it was going to win. The ball of electricity and sword collided. Come on. They both thought until a cracking noise sounded. Naruto's sword chipped down the middle with the blade fracturing into multiple pieces. Sasuke got a clean 4 centimeters shard of metal jabbed right into his arm. Naruto, meanwhile, he got a jagged cut all along his forearm. The sizzling sounds as the metal, still charged with electricity, cut through the skin caused both boys to grimace in pain. Naruto was the first to give up, quickly substituting himself with a nearby rock. Shit, I can't keep up with an attack. Fucking hell, Kakashi, teaching that to Sasuke and he ends up using it on his supposed teammate. See? This is my power! There's no way you can keep up, loser! Sasuke boasted, loving the fact that the separation that used to be between them was being showcased once more. Looking down at the broken sword in his hand, Naruto grimaced. Not for the fight he was still in, but for asking Manda for another sword. That's not going to be fun. Guess we're going old school again then. A familiar red chakra was coming to the surface, enough to change his eye color but not enough to start a shroud around his body. Wind release, pressure damage! Naruto boldly called out, bringing his hands in front of him. With the healthy addition of the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto unleashed the devastating wind right at Sasuke, who had no chance of dodging. Cuts started littering all over his body, shredding his shirt to pieces. There's no way I could have dodged that. How does the dobe have this much power? Sasuke screamed internally, looking at the choppy waters below and even seeing some cuts in the statues behind him thanks to his Sharingan. This better be worth it. At this point one would question whether or not Sasuke was doing this to kill Itachi and rather the pride in not losing to Naruto. Tapping into the curse seal for more chakra, the markings quickly covered his body, consuming every part of his skin, and Naruto could only watch on in horror. This is what the curse seal does. This is what it does to your body. Sasuke, what have you become? You see, I'm the most special! Sasuke shouted, and before Naruto could react, Sasuke was on him. A massive right hook that the Uzumaki could do little about, followed by a powerful kneecap right into the stomach, left the blonde wheezing. Before Naruto could even recover, Sasuke had launched the two of them into the air and placed his former teammate in a piledriver position, slamming him head first into the ground below. A distinct crack was heard as Naruto's head collided with the ground. There was enough force, causing some of the rocks nearby to go flying. Not to be outdone, Sasuke then picked up Naruto by the throat with one hand. With the other free hand, he made a seal-less Chidori, channeled it, and then shoved into Naruto's right lung with no remorse whatsoever. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. Sasuke was telling himself as he unceremoniously dropped Naruto's body in the water, staring at where it once was. That was until he heard the bubbling. You stupid, weak human! How dare you get defeated by an Uchiha of all people! The Kyuubi roared inside of its cage, flooding Naruto with chakra yet again to solve his problems. The bubbles started becoming more and more frequent, and soon Naruto came to the surface, this time with a full chakra shroud surrounding him. 2 tails and all. What the hell is this? What do I have to do to kill this bastard? Sasuke thought to himself, and for the first time since that fateful night, he felt fear. He just keeps getting back up. This ends now, Sasuke. Whilst Naruto may have wanted to sound calm and in control, there was a distinct feral element to it. Wind release, feral wind claw jutsu. Naruto called out, and as he swiped the air, 5 distinct red and white blades of wind came from his hand, hurtling towards Sasuke. They were each a meter long, and Sasuke barely managed to dodge them, only getting caught on the tail end of one, severing his thigh significantly, blood spurting out instantaneously. Reaching forward with his chakra cloak, Naruto's paws grabbed a hold of Sasuke, and then by twisting his body, the momentum carried to Sasuke, who was much further out. Slam! Sasuke careened head first into the cliff face of the Valley of the End. Watching on, Naruto noticed how the chakra markings over the body of Sasuke receded, first to what looked like to a tattoo and then to nothing at all. Panting and hunched over one leg, Naruto coughed up blood. I can't keep using that. It's going to kill me someday. Naruto! A voice screamed. One that he had never been more excited to hear. Turning around, there was Ino rushing as fast as she could, sweat down her brow and everything. Seeing her, immediately made the adrenaline wear off, knowing that he had done his job and he could relax now. Got him. Sasuke's over there. He briefly mentioned before passing out in the water. As she helped carry Naruto back with Sasuke getting carried by Kakashi, she couldn't help but notice just how weak Naruto felt. Is this from the fight with Sasuke, or is this him using the Kyuubi's chakra again? She saw the hole in his shirt, fist size, she noted. I really hope it wasn't that jutsu that Kakashi taught him to kill Gaara. Looking at it though, she didn't get that same confidence. Ugh! Naruto started to murmur. His body hurt, but as much as the physical wounds hurt, the memories of the day before started coming back to him. How he fought Sasuke, having to try and rescue him. That's how they're going to spin it for the PR, I'm sure. If Sasuke was willing to leave the village when they treated him so well, then why shouldn't I? At this point, memories of his time during the academy, seeing the way villagers and all the girls talked to him, how Kakashi taught him the Chidori whilst he taught the rest of the team nothing. In contrast to that, Naruto's mind was littered with the memories of his time growing up. All those times sitting on the swing alone, looking over to the groups of kids, talking and laughing with their parents. The times where he wanted to play with all of the other kids, but for some reason their parents said he couldn't. Choji didn't interact with him because Shikamaru didn't, and Shikamaru didn't because he was over the top and annoying. How all it took for him to develop a crush on Sakura was her being nice to him a couple of times, same with Sasuke being his rival. Naruto got acknowledged by Sasuke and then became his major rival. Looking back with more knowledge, he could tell that there were times that he asked for help in the academy, and none of the teachers helped him. Of course, he struggled with the content when he struggled to read and write as a 6-year-old. The fact that he had to spend the first 4 months of being a genin, going back and doing all of the rudimentary training that he should have done in the academy, was not lost on the blonde. All those times where he had to fake a smile, pretending that he was okay with everything that was happening around him, that he was fine with everyone laughing at him, since that was the only way he could get any form of attention. That wasn't even including the fact that he was supposed to receive guidance from so many people, yet everyone had failed him. Iruka did the bare minimum as a school teacher. Kakashi did the absolute least required as a Jonin sensei, irrespective of the fact that Naruto was his sensei's son. Someone who had done so much for Kakashi and showed Kakashi a good model for how to be a sensei, yet the man did not follow that due to his own depression that he had not worked on over the years. Then there was Hiruzen fucking Sarutobi. The wise old Hokage had put in the least amount of effort to give Naruto motivation to become the Hokage, tying him to the village. Tears started to form in Naruto's eyes as he started thinking about everything he had been through. And then there is my parents. It feels like they have written the first 10 chapters of a book about my life and I only get to change the ones after. I just hate how I have no control over my own life. Every time I have thought I am getting control, it's like there is a little asterisk on each moment. And then, a thought occurred that would change the elemental nations forever. The only way I am ever going to get complete control and freedom in my life is if I leave the village. As he thought about it, the idea sounded better and better. Time to train, time to go and explore causes that he valued, and helping people, a constant life of adventure, none of the bullshit that Konoha called the will of fire, which he was an outcast to. There was only one problem to all of this though. It was a huge problem though. That problem was his girlfriend Ino. From what Naruto Uzumaki knew about love, he was fairly confident he loved her. She was the one that started getting him to value himself more. She was the one that put in the effort to find out who his parents were when he had given up hope. She called him out on his shit when no one else did, instead just letting Naruto develop bad habits. I want her to join me. How can I get her to come with me? Chapter 17. Ino was the first person to walk into the room. She saw her boyfriend in the room, half lying, half seated in the bed staring up at the ceiling. I wonder what's on his mind. What's on your mind? Ino questioned, coming over and sitting next to him, grabbing his hand in her own. Hey Ino-chan? How is it going? Naruto questioned, ignoring her comment for a bit. Yeah, it's pretty good. Just got back from seeing Neji. Out of everyone on the mission, he was the only one that got severely hurt outside of yourself. Neji got hurt? Hopefully it's not too bad. She was here before? Naruto thought to himself, happy that she cared that much. In reality, Naruto didn't know it was expected of a partner when the other was in the hospital. What are you thinking? I was just thinking about our last mission. I'm really glad to see that you finished your fight relatively easy. You've gotten real strong, Ino-chan. The Uzumaki blonde commented with pride. Blushing, Ino smiled. You too, I saw the amount of damage that was done at the valley. To do that all whilst knowing you can't kill Sasuke, you've gotten stronger too, Naruto. Speaking of Sasuke, what are your thoughts on him attempting to leave the village? Naruto questioned. She had to think on it for a moment. I don't really know much about it. Four had told me that she reckons that Sasuke's mind was being controlled/influenced by Orochimaru, but I don't know. It seems like Sasuke wanted to go there. What did he tell you during the fight? Did you two speak? Well, he was talking about how he needed power to kill his older brother Itachi. He was saying that Orochimaru was going to give him the power he required. He was saying that Konoha was holding him back. Thinking about it, We had 4 months of doing nothing but D-rank missions, and then after that, Sasuke saw people like Gaara and then felt bad about himself. Naruto thought, thinking about everything he used to know about Sasuke. He and his brother met recently, didn't they? Sasuke had a genjutsu used on him, didn't he? Naruto thought, knowing that it must have affected Sasuke seriously. I kind of get it though. Naruto murmured under his breath, empathizing with all of the emotions that Sasuke was feeling throughout, although for completely different reasons. Ino couldn't help but look at him oddly. She could see the facial expressions of her boyfriend and could tell that was more on his mind than what he was telling. Maybe he doesn't want to talk about it with me? Nah, maybe he doesn't want to talk about it here. Before she could delve any further, the door opened and there was an opening of the door, and in walked Tsunade. Brats. She made a motion to Ino and then Naruto to introduce herself. They both nodded. How are you feeling? She questioned, looking at Naruto, who was bandaged from neck to toe. Pretty rough, Tsunade-sama. What's going to happen to Sasuke? You don't need to worry about that right now. Instead, focus on healing up, and then when you're ready you can be discharged. Please tell me, I want to know. Tsunade sighed. She really didn't want to get into it with Naruto, and technically, she had no obligation to do so, but she also knew how Naruto would feel if he knew the real answer. To the outside world, Sasuke went on an undercover mission to find out more information about the Sound Village and Orochimaru. The village is in such a precarious position after the invasion that the last thing we need is to have a public relations incident with the last member of one of our founding clans deserting the village for our most hated rogue shinobi. Tsunade bluntly stated. They were Chunin in front of her, and they deserved to not have information sugar-coated to them. What? Ino was the first to react, immediately turning her attention to the veteran leader. But that's bullshit. Everyone that took part in that mission knows that Sasuke joined them on his own free will. I get that. Trust me, I do. However, the last thing that Konoha needs is for this to turn into an international incident. As of this moment, only a select few shinobi in Kunoichi know about this. Do I make myself clear? Naruto opened his mouth to protest, but in the end chose not to speak. On another day he would have, but not after having woken up just after having the fight of his life. This wouldn't have happened if it was me leaving the village. I would come back to everyone knowing and being locked up in jail, Naruto said, looking down at his clenched fists. Tsunade allowed the two teens to feel the injustice in a moment. She knew she would be pissed too. Inwardly though, Sasuke is going to be punished by being locked up in jail for at least 3 months, having his chakra sealed, and then we will consider him being reintroduced into the core, depending on how his evaluations go. That relaxed the shoulders of Ino slightly. At least he isn't getting off for free. Neji nearly died in Naruto. They still hadn't had a full debriefing of the fight between Naruto and Sasuke, but she could only imagine from some of the holes in Naruto's clothes that there was some serious injuries. Finding himself at home, Naruto noticed that Sakura never came to the hospital to visit him. She no doubt spent time making sure Sasuke was fine. Which, to be fair, he did need assistance, just that Sakura was not the one required. When Naruto used his tailed beast form and grabbed Sasuke, he slammed his face into the cliff and shattered his nose in the process. Sasuke was going to be breathing out of a tube for a little while until they reconstructed his face. Neither did Kakashi show up. Admittedly, he was running mission after mission to help the village, but it still nonetheless hurt for Naruto that the only people that visited him in the hospital were Kiba and Neji, those who were on the mission alongside him. It just goes to show how close I was to everyone from the academy. It's another sign why I should leave the village. No one would give a shit. Except Ino. That was the conundrum for Naruto. How could he get her to be willing to leave the village, to leave her family, her friends and comrades just for him? Whilst he knew that she liked him, did she like him enough to become a war criminal in the eyes of their own village? He doubted it. Plus, if I was to ever leave the village, I need to be stronger. That fight with Sasuke showed that I rely too much on the Kyuubi's chakra when shit gets serious. I need to speak to Manda and Shikudo again, Naruto thought to himself. Going through the seals, he channeled chakra and reverse summoned himself from the village. Being back in a familiar place, after saying hello and greeting everyone, Naruto soon found himself staring up at a waterfall. How am I going to cut this? He questioned to his army of 500 clones. Let's find out, he thought to himself with a snake-like smirk. Having finished his training with his element for the day, starting it 4 hours ago, Naruto headed back down the mountain, finding Shikudo. Hi there, Shikudo. I've been thinking. Can I learn more of the snake-specific techniques? Of course you can. Which area would you like focus on now? She questioned, turning her head back to Naruto. I would like to focus on healing and poison. There are so many applications I can use with it. Plus, I found in my last fight, I don't really have a good way to subdue someone. Having the ability to poison someone and then heal them when I arrive at my destination will be invaluable. Nodding in approval, Shikuto started slithering away, motioning for Naruto to come with her. Wondering where they were going, Naruto watched as they entered a tunnel, ending up at an underground library that was truly massive. Shelves upon shelves going 3 stories high full of various forms of text. From parchment to paper and everything between. This is one part of the inner sanctum that makes up the Snake Clan. We guard this location to the death. Naruto was busy looking around the room with awe but couldn't help but agree. The amount of knowledge this place must have. Down there to your right is everything regarding fertility, rebirth, medicine and poison. Here is a list of books that you need to read before can start the training. As she said this, Shikuto gave Naruto a piece of paper and numbered it. How much is there to learn in here? Naruto questioned, still in awe of the place. As much as you want. We have everything from information on clans, high-level ninjutsu and genjutsu, politics, financial management, history and the mythology of the elemental world and how it came to be. Ever since he started bothering about learning, Naruto couldn't get enough information. He had so many questions when he was younger and books were starting to give him the answers. Manda-sama, I have a couple of topics that I would like to discuss with you, Naruto said, bowing as he entered the Ryuchi cave. A sacred place amongst even the snakes. Speak, hatchling. Manda's voice beckoned him forward. Guess I am still a child in his eyes, even after we fought Shikaku together. I know you have mentioned that me having the desire to become a worthy summoner of the clan was because I wanted to become the Hokage. However, as time has gone on, I have been becoming more and more disillusioned with becoming the Hokage for a village that has caused so much pain in my life. Naruto started offering information for free, nervous about the outcome of this conversation. The last thing he wanted was for them to renounce his membership to the clan. What do you mean, child? So then Naruto went on and told his version of the information that he had found out. Letting them know about who his parents were and how everyone had made his life a living hell through either apathy or doing the bare minimum of what is required for a child to survive rather than thrive. Finishing up, Naruto spoke. I am also struggling with my identity to be a Konoha ninja. I have no desire to continue being a Konoha ninja after everything I have been through. Naruto knew just how critical reputation was to the Snake Clan, having had it drilled into him right from the very start how important it was. I see. Was all Manda stated, looking over the blonde ninja in front of him. And if you left the village, what would you do? Now this wasn't something that Naruto had really thought of. What would I do? Sure, I want to go and explore the world, but would I be okay just wandering around without a purpose? It didn't take Naruto long at all to answer that with a resounding no. There was no way he would be happy just doing nothing. I need to find problems to solve. I want to help the world become a better place, where children don't have to experience a childhood at all similar to what I did. With the Akatsuki after me and I would also have Konoha after me, I am going to have to train my absolute best. I want to go and help the world. I want to put a stop to Orochimaru. Naruto mentioned out loud, remembering there was a place where he knew would appreciate his efforts. Hearing the plan for the future, Manda was satisfied. Very well then, Naruto. Shall you leave the village? The Snake Clan will support you through everything. You have brought pride to our clan, fighting the Ichibi that we will watch where you go. Yada! Naruto jumped up in joy, beyond delighted with what he had just heard. That's the best Databeo. I can't keep doing this. When Ino Yamanaka decided to come over to her best friend and boyfriend's house, those were not the words she expected to hear. Panicking, adrenaline racing and her heart basically beating out of her chest, the platinum blonde was almost on the verge of crying. What do you mean, Naruto? I thought we were going so well. I loved spending time with you, didn't you like it as well? Ino questioned after Naruto asked her to sit down. What? Naruto questioned, thrown. What do you mean? I don't want to break up with you. That's not what I was talking about. Naruto immediately started backtracking, seeing the expression on the face of his girlfriend. Then what do you mean? Ino demanded, flipping on a dime, going from hyperventilating and on the verge of emotional breakdown, to being utterly furious at her partner. I can't keep living this facade that I am happy as a Konoha ninja. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be treated like an outcast that everyone hates. And then the fury changed to empathy and understanding. She could feel the emotions of her boyfriend just by holding his hand and could feel his stress. She saw it during his time at the hospital that there was more on his mind. I'm not going to ask why, because I get it. I just want to know why have these feelings been brought to the surface now? Ino questioned with a pleading look in her eyes, wanting to help however she could. Well, it all started during the Chunin exams when we started hanging out. You believed in me and you were the first person our age to tell me that you did. Back then I had such low standards for the people I was willing to accept in my life. I developed an obsession on Sakura because she was nice to me a couple of times. I thought of Sasuke as my rival because we had similarly shit childhoods. I viewed Irika as my older brother role model when all he did was treat me like a student, and he even used to view me as the demon. I viewed Kakashi as a great sensei when all he taught us during 6 months was the tree walking, to then go on and teach Sasuke a jutsu which he shoved into my chest. It was thanks to you I started valuing myself and not just saying yes to the first sign of affection and attention I received. Whilst Ino was realizing the ramifications of what she had done, she didn't regret it for a second. Naruto deserved to know who was a real one and who was just there. Self-worth is so important, and learning how to set boundaries for how people treat you is even more important. And then, when I was in the hospital, I had a thought to myself and questioned how many people actually gave a shit that I was there? Like enough of a crap that they would come visit me? Naruto questioned sardonically, looking over at his girlfriend whose eyes widened, feeling like she knew the answer but didn't want to hear it. Outside of Tsunade-sama and Shizune, you were the only person who came and visited me. I was in hospital for a week and no one fucking came. Naruto shouted. Please baby, you don't have to go through this alone. I am here with you. Ino willed in her thoughts, unknowingly channeling chakra to the person she had the best connection with. Surprised, Naruto heard it and blushed, not used to pet names. I just don't see the point of defending this fucking village. Why should I put in effort, blood, sweat and countless tears for this village when it's the same village that would chew me up and spit me out at the first thought? I don't want to be seen as a weapon or a demon. I just want to be seen as me. Naruto Uzumaki, he impassionately stated, clenching his fists as a couple of tears came down his face. She agreed with him. That was what made it so hard. There are people that will care though. I'll go home tonight and then ask Daddy to set up a family dinner to properly introduce you to the family. That my family can become our family. Now normally she would have waited a lot longer to introduce Naruto to the family, but she could see the pain he was going through. And to be honest, she felt that if this was something that might keep Naruto tied to the village, then she was for it. Was it selfish for her to want him to stay? Yes. Did she care? No. Naruto shook his head. No, it's too late. It's too late for everything. I am trusting you with this conversation as well, Ino-chan. Please don't betray my trust by going to the Hokage or anyone else. Fuck. Now I can't go to Dad and ask for help. Of course, Naruto-kun. All secrets between us stay between us. One thing I want to know though, is how come you haven't asked for me to come with you? She demanded, hands on her hips and tears forming at her eyes. Do you not care enough about us that you don't want me to come with you? No! Naruto shouted, grabbing a mug in the room and throwing at a nearby brick wall, surprising Ino Yamanaka. It's the fucking opposite of that. I care so much about you, that the only reason why I am considering staying is because of you. The only person keeping me in this god-forsaken village is you. You are my sunshine. The past week in the hospital I had to think about a lot of things. I even had to confront my inner darkness a little while ago, and I realized that I had been repressing all of my dark thoughts, and that was causing me to be depressed. Ino could only nod. She knew what he was going through and she knew the part that she had to play in this, forcing him to confront his issues. She didn't regret it one bit, even if it meant that she was going to end up alone. If it was for the people she cared about, then she would do anything and everything in her power. When you say dark thoughts, do you mean suicide? Please not that, anything but that. I can handle anything, including you hating me for the rest of your life, but you can't be gone. Relief washed over Ino's body when Naruto spoke. No, that was when I was removed from the orphanage. I didn't really know what the depths of what I was thinking, all I knew was that I didn't want to wake up the next morning. I didn't have anything to look forward to for a couple of years there. The blasé way of speaking horrified Ino. The fact that Naruto could be this aware of those emotions and not show any distress showed he was used to this. A 6-year-old wanting to die because they had nothing to look forward to in life? I hate this fucking village. No, instead of being depressed, I came to realize that I have a lot of anger repressed inside of me that if I'm not careful, could consume me, and having the Kyuubi makes it that much more dangerous. What do you mean by that? Ino questioned. Are you wanting to make Konoha pay for everything they did to you? She asked, hoping it wasn't that. Not that they wouldn't deserve it. It would just end in so many deaths. No, Naruto mentioned, pacing around the room. I need time away from the village. If I stay here I am going to get more and more aggressive as time goes on. I need time to go away and work through my own emotions. I am so happy he's come this far with his emotions. I still don't get why you haven't asked for me to come. She's mentioned this a couple of times. It's like she wants me to ask her. Would you come with me? Of fucking course he wanted her there. There was no doubt about it. The problem though was that he knew it was selfish. I don't know. It's such a hard decision. I would be giving up my family. I would be labeling myself a missing need. My parents would be so disappointed in me. I know it's something you can't relate to, but there's this inbuilt desire to want to please your parents, and I would hate that. Plus I am the clan heir. You have no idea what sort of shame that would bring to the family. I know. Naruto cut her off in frustration. I have thought of all these things as well. That's why I can't ask you to come with me. Plus, I would be putting a target on your back as well. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. TCH, Ino scoffed. That is the least of your concerns. Plus, if you ever got with another woman out there and I found out, which I would, then I would scour the ends of the earth to find you, and force you to watch other men making me happier than I have been spending time with you now. You're a fucking bitch. You're a fucking bitch. Flicking her ponytail over her head, Ino showed how much she cared. So what? Let's not think about this for now. We don't have to make a decision for a while yet. Come here and kiss me. Waking up the next morning, Ino struggled to open her eyes. She had had the best sleep of her life. Wrapped up in the arms of her boyfriend as if he was coiled around her, she was so warm. Naruto was still slightly shorter than her, but she didn't care one bit. She knew that he was going to grow and tower over her. I don't ever want this to end. Getting up, as much as she didn't want to, Ino slipped out of the embrace of Naruto, grabbing her regular clothes to put on instead of the pajamas she was wearing. The blonde made her way quietly out of the house, going to get breakfast. She came back to Naruto coming back out of the shower, towel wrapped around his waist with nothing else on apart from a mischievous smirk on his face. Put some clothes on, I brought breakfast. Why should I? It's my house, he cheekily replied. Because you're not ready for my daddy to come and destroy mine, making you only speak one-syllable words for the rest of your life. The food had been placed on the table, and the arms had been folded across her body expectantly. One day I'll be your daddy, Naruto called out as he walked back into his room, dropping the towel right at the very end of the hallway, letting Ino catch a glimpse of his bare ass. He didn't see the blushing lady left behind, as the insinuation was not lost. Oh no, he didn't. No one outflirts Ino Yamanaka. Just shut the hell up and eat the food I got you, she replied back. Unaware, Naruto was on the other side of the wall, a tear escaping his eyes before he quickly rubbed it away. It was the first time someone had brought him breakfast. It made the conviction of leaving the village that much harder. Did you know? Ino Yamanaka questioned, coming home and staring at her dad, waiting for an answer. Did I know what? Inoichi replied back, curious as to what his daughter was referencing. He was expecting as a teenager, she was bound to test the boundaries. The question was on what? Did you know that Naruto housed the Kyuubi? Outside of the brief raising of the eyebrows, Inoichi showed no other sign that he was surprised by this conversation. I knew that would come up sometime. There was no point lying. She knew he knew about the Kyuubi. That wasn't the real question she was asking. I did. Then why didn't you do anything to help him? Immediately, she showed her hand and how she was annoyed at the situation presented to her. It wasn't our place due to clan and village politics. If we were seen as helping out the Kyuubi host, then it would be seen as an attempt to get power to our clan. For the few years after the sealing, there was high tension in the village and the clans were heavily on edge. Confronted by the fact that her father wasn't using Naruto's name, and instead calling him by what he housed. He has a name, you know. That just sounds like a cop-out to justify turning a blind eye. Ino passionately cried out, affected by the lack of reaction to her boyfriend. Inoichi moved his hand to his chin, deep in thought. Looking back on it, it probably was. We had just had a child and I was working dual jobs as head of the torture and interrogation as well as head of the Yamanaka clan. It wasn't the highest priority for our family at the time. I'm not excusing our actions but giving context behind them. Ino was at a loss for words. She opened her mouth a couple of times before closing it. That's what every clan did then. If it wasn't for indifference, Naruto suffered systemic emotional abuse as a sort of fucking scapegoat for everyone's emotional pain. Why did a 5-year-old have to become the emotional stress ball for the village? Did you know what that did to him? Ino questioned with tears nearly on the verge of coming out. She really cares for him. I wonder if they are dating. I need to invite him over to meet the boy. I had heard his exploits now being a snake summoner. Konoha has created a 5-year-old. 5-year-old? She screamed for emphasis. That has so deeply rooted depression, that he didn't know how else to describe it, but he didn't want to wake up again. Alarm bells started ringing in the head of Inoichi. To have the Kyuubi Jinchuriki being depressed and wanting to die from the age of 5, then who knew just how much damage had been done to his psyche? He was always so happy. Inoichi thought to himself before using his knowledge on the brain and emotions and realized instantaneously that it was a mask. How is he? Naruto? She could see the calculations being made in his head. It's not as if he is going to rip off the seal, although I can see why he would do it. Shocked at the candid nature his daughter was using, Inoichi responded. It wasn't that bad. Naruto was close with the Hokage, he had that teacher he was around all the time, and there was that ramen stand he spent his spare time at. Not that bad. You have absolutely no idea how bad it's been. Naruto was systematically isolated and mistreated by people hurling abuse at a child. Parents were telling their kids to not associate with him, and others were letting their children follow the crowd. There was a point from what Naruto said, and I believe him a hell of a lot more than I believe anyone else in the village. The vibe I get is that everyone put in the bare minimum amount of effort. The Hokage saw him once every 6 months, if that. Plus, Sairako was our teacher. All he really did was force Naruto to go to detention because of the pranks he did. Naruto was so starved for attention, he thought a girl that physically and verbally abused him on a daily basis was the love of his life. Just how fucked up is that? What if that was me in that position and I had a boyfriend who was like that? Ino questioned to make her father realize how bad it was for Naruto. To stop seeing him as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Kakashi taught him the bare minimum, and the closest thing that Naruto considered a friend just made a palm-sized hole in his ribcage and lungs. It's just so fucked how everyone treated him, Ino screamed, pacing around the house. Inoichi paused for a moment, letting his daughter finish speaking. Do you love him? You previously liked Sasuke a lot. Is this your desire to fix boys who you think are damaged? Inoichi referenced Sasuke and his traumatic past. Shock filled her face. No, maybe. Sasuke was just a crush. Naruto is so much more than that. I don't love him yet, but I think I am falling for him. He is my boyfriend. This time it was Inoichi who was surprised. You have a boyfriend? Since when? Since I went on that mission with Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama. Naruto and I have been spending more and more time together. I think you should be careful, Ino. Take it slow. Highly offended, Ino wanted to know why her father felt that way. What do you mean take it slow? We haven't done anything. Is it because he houses the Kyuubi? Are you judging him for something that he has no control over? I thought you were better than that. It broke the Yamanaka clan head to see his daughter look at him with those disappointed eyes. No, it is not because of that. I admit, that makes me uneasy, but it is because of him being a member of the Snake clan. You were never around to see witness to the cruelty and power that man was capable of. You should know better of me than to judge someone for things that they have no control over. Well, did you ever think that Naruto was so desperate for a family, a place to call home, when he felt so alone and like an outcast in the place that is supposed to promote the will of fire? They approached him as they want to provide him a family, and the only condition that he must kill Orochimaru. As they were having the conversation, Ino couldn't help but realize her dad was stuck in the past and was conservative. Inoichi didn't realize that being not exactly supportive would just push his daughter further and further into Naruto's arms. Naruto was sitting at home in his room after yet another exhausting training session when there was a knock on the door. Opening the door, he saw his girlfriend and he saw the tears coming down her face. Can I stay tonight again? Anger fueled his body. Whoever caused this, I'll make them pay. Feeling how tense Naruto was, Ino spoke up. Don't worry about it. Promise? He looked down at her unsure for a few moments before nodding. Closing the door behind him, Naruto just wanted to hold her tight. Chapter 18. So I'm going to make you my apprentice. You'll have to come with me out of the village for 3 years. Jiraiya boldly stated in front of Naruto, and... Do I get a say in this? Naruto replied, not at all impressed with what had just been said. What? Anyone would be honored to be my apprentice. With the Akatsuki coming, there is no better person to get you whipped up into shape so that you can take them on. I can teach you the famous techniques of the Yondaime Hokage. No. The Toad Sannin didn't expect Naruto to be so succinct in his rejection. What? Why not? Well, what benefit is there to going out and training with you? I could train with people such as Kakashi, and I am not spending 3 years away from Ino. Offended at the thought that training with Kakashi was at the same level as he was, Jiraiya replied. He wanted to develop a connection with his godson, and yet the boy was making it so much harder. Naruto, this would be best for you. The Akatsuki are coming and they aren't going to stop. We have 3 years to get you ready. Naruto's blood was boiling. Yet another time where people are making decisions about me, with me being the last to find out. It triggered all those feelings that he had when he was younger, only to find out information last realizing why everyone treated him the way he did. What gives you the right to decide what's best for me? Anger came to the surface as the blonde stared down the two veteran ninjas, titles be damned. Why don't I ever get a say in what's best for me? Jiraiya looked surprised at the outburst but not guilty. Why the hell should I just uproot my life and trust a fucking random person that entered my life only 3 months ago and join them, leaving what little support system I have, just because I should trust that they have my best interests at heart? Naruto angrily stared down at the man that wanted to be his sensei. I'm not just some random. I am Jiraiya of the Sannin. My pedigree speaks for itself. I taught the Yondaime for crying out loud. There is no one better to train you to become a strong shinobi. By the time you come back, you would be ready to be a jonin. I am going to be a jonin regardless by 3 years. So what if I might become stronger than what I would be inside the village? Did you ever give a shit about my happiness? All you seem to care about is how strong is the Jinchuriki. As much as he felt that this was the case, seeing it confirmed by the actions of the veteran ninja in front of him hurt that little bit more. Why should I even bother hoping that people other than Ino care about me? You know what, fuck you all. Fuck each and every person in this stupid fucking village. Alarm bells started ringing in the mind of Jiraiya. You have ever cared, so why should I give a shit, huh? Chakra was starting to leak out of Naruto. Calm down, Naruto. The Akatsuki don't care about anything other than the bijou inside of you. We don't have that luxury. There's a high likelihood that you might die in the next 3 years. Jiraiya passionately replied. The last thing he wanted was for Minato's son dying. You just don't fucking get it, you senile old man. I've been ready and willing to die since I was 6 years old because of the way this fucking village treated me. Jiraiya's heart broke when she heard this, and he was at a complete loss for words. Naruto, you've thought about suicide since 6 years old? Of course I have. Why wouldn't I? I didn't know about killing yourself, but I definitely wanted to never wake up again. I have had no family. I haven't had any friends. I've lived alone since I was 7, why the hell wouldn't I hate my life and want it to end? All my life I have been forced to be a sponge for all of the hatred the village has towards what happened with the fox 13 years ago. I've had to tolerate everything because the second I show any sign of reaction to their actions, my life was made worse. I had to integrate to the belief of the will of fire, which is supposed to take of everyone, but what they don't tell you is the little fucking asterisk on that belief. The asterisk is that you have to not be a Jinchuriki. No one gives a shit about Naruto, they only care about the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The ease of which Naruto was so willing to speak about this spoke volumes regarding how long he had been feeling this way. Why should I respect this village when it has never shown me any? As far as I am concerned, I am better off without this village. Naruto progressively got more and more angry as he felt even the Kyuubi's chakra coming to the surface. Jiraiya was truly shocked at the words coming from Naruto. That's awfully close to treason, Naruto. You are a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. Remember that. He brought his hand out front, showcased the 5 elements seal. It was at this point that there was a knock on the door, getting both shinobi's attention. Ignore it, Jiraiya stated. Purely out of spite, Naruto went over to the door and opened it. There was his girlfriend Ino. What's going on? I can feel your chakra rising, and rushed over. She questioned to Naruto, and as she entered the room, she could immediately feel the hostility between the two ninja. Jiraiya told me I am going on a training trip with him without asking for my consent. He said it's going to be 3 years. What? Ino, leave the room. This conversation doesn't involve you, Jiraiya firmly stated. She could feel the anger rolling off the man. Unsure of what to do, she looked over at Naruto, who was furious. No, stay here. Any conversation you are going to have with me, she can be here. Naruto, she is not your wife, it's been a 2-month relationship. It's not that serious. Facts, not feelings. Whilst Jiraiya was correct, there wasn't exactly any tact used. It wasn't the smartest thing to say. Not serious, huh? Naruto started laughing. Who are you to say this isn't serious? Ino questioned, taking offense to her relationship. You're teenagers. It's not serious. You're more likely to break up than stay together. Whilst it may have been accurate, telling two that their relationship is doomed to fail is not the best way to appease them. Fuck you, Naruto swore at the veteran ninja, shaking his head. I knew it was too good to be true to allow myself to get my hopes up. I thought that you might care about me as a person and not as a Jinchuriki, given you were so close to my father. As Naruto spoke, he stared deeply into the eyes of Jiraiya. Ino was surprised that he dropped their theory, but she keenly watched the facial expressions of Tsunade. The legendary Toad Sannin had his eyebrows raised before he quickly schooled his features. You know. So that's where this animosity is coming from. How long have you known? Ever the prideful man didn't show his remorse. It was the decades of conditioning as a shinobi that taught him this. Had he shown empathy, he may have gotten more from his godson. The question isn't how long have I known? It's how long have you known, you arsehole? Why the fuck do you want to enter my life now, when you had so long before? The first sign of guilt started showing on the face of Jiraiya. Cracks were appearing in the mask hiding the man's emotions. You said earlier how you offered to teach me the moves of the fourth Hokage. What, so now we're all out in the open with secrets, you were going to teach me the same things my father would have taught me when he was alive? That's not really you going above and beyond, is it? Naruto questioned yet again, his anger was coming back to the surface. That's teaching me the bare fucking minimum. I would have taught you more. I would have taught you sealing, and I would have taught you the sage arts of the toad summons, however you had already signed the snake contract. Jiraiya feebly replied, not really believing what he was saying. The guilt and shame was getting to him. The thing is, I didn't even care about what you can teach me. I can learn everything I need to from the Snake Clan. All I wanted was a family, but you showed me just now that all you care about is the Kyuubi's chakra. Your parents loved you, Naruto. I hope you don't hold any resentment to them. There was nothing more that they were looking forward than to welcoming you into this world, Jiraiya stated, hoping to get this conversation back on track. I don't believe it. What sort of parents would put this curse on their own child to living as a Jinchuriki? Naruto struggled to believe what was being said, given who was saying it. Ino too, purely because she was on Team Naruto. That's because he watched your mother grow up as a Jinchuriki and her life was quite normal. Outside of a bit of bullying because she had red hair, she didn't experience the stereotypical upbringings that Jinchuriki around the world do. The Toad Sannin mentioned. He too had watched Kushina grow, thinking that Naruto would have a similar upbringing. Mentioned. Ignoring the fact that a bomb had just been dropped, Ino spoke. Just to clarify, it's not just other villages. Konoha needs to take ownership that they are just as bad as all the other villages. Point taken. The man conceded. You know what, I just don't even care anymore. I lost hope long before I was a ninja, I was just lying to myself then. Well, now I am not. You can't be serious. Please, Naruto, don't go. I am so sorry for everything I haven't done. Please stay. You don't have to go on this training trip, Jiraiya said as tears started to form in his eyes, although they did not fall. It's too late. Are you sure about this? You're finally doing it? The Yamaka clan heiress questioned, rapidly thinking through multiple scenarios. Jiraiya's eyes widened, realizing that she was aware of this as well. Naruto merely nodded. Ino-chan, are you coming? Uzumaki Genin questioned, as much as he was confident in what he was going to do, a look of desperation filled his eyes. Well, someone is going to have to look out for you. Tears were running down her face as she was forced to make a split decision on whether or not to leave her family or leave her boyfriend who was turning rogue. Naruto went through the hand seals as Jiraiya raced towards him, praying he would reach the blondes. Send out patrols immediately. This is an S-rank secret to not get out to anyone. Tsunade called out to her Anbu in the room. Bring back Naruto and Ino to the village with that little force as possible. The female Hokage was the first to react, whereas Jiraiya was standing there in shock. How could I have let this happen? I am such a failure. I am so sorry, Minato. He was the one that had to explain to Tsunade that Naruto had left the village. Of all the events that had taken place in his life, this was the one that he felt the most shame for. Naruto deserved a much better life, and he knew that everything the boy was saying was right. And then he had to tell Tsunade that he was the one that antagonized Naruto, not taking into consideration the boy's feelings. I'll deal with you later. Tsunade shot a look of disappointment at her best friend, wishing that this was all just a dream. The two children that had been the reason for her coming back to the village were now gone. Where are we? Was the first question Ino asked as she surveyed her surroundings. This is the home of the Snake Clan. And there is the Ryuchi Cave, the most sacred of all places of the Snake Clan. Naruto responded, on the lookout for any threats. Whilst he knew that they would treat him with respect, he didn't know about how they would treat Ino. Who is this lady Naruto-kun? A sickeningly sweet voice whispered behind the two blondes. As much as there was a shiver that went down the spine of Naruto, he didn't show it. The Yamanaka heiress, however, didn't hide it. This is my girlfriend and best friend, Ino Yamanaka. Ino, this is Shikudo. She's the boss summon's daughter and second in line, Naruto confidently replied to Shikudo. The purple snake, revealing more of herself as the duo of Chunin ninjas turned around. This snake is huge, Ino thought to herself, just feeling the energies in the environment she was in. An overwhelming gut instinct told her to run. She was prey right now and her life was in the hands of the person she trusted most. Yamanaka, I have heard about them. They are the Mind Reader family, are they not? Shakudo questioned. Feeling that it was directed for her, Ino spoke up. That is correct. We are known for interrogation and healing the mind. I should say thank you, Miss Yamanaka. I have seen the change in young Naruto over the past few months. He is no longer repressing his emotions, that I believe is your doing, no? Both Naruto and Ino blushed at the praise. It was the first time someone had complimented their relationship. That's correct. She's helped me figure out